All right, welcome back to the Stateside podcast. I am your host, James Macmillan, alongside with our trusted new co-host, Alan Ashcraft.
Hello.
Today we have a very esteemed guest, Finn Mckenty from the Punk Rock MBA YouTube channel, and much, much more, and we'll get to know him as we go along. But welcome to the show, Finn.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
Yeah, appreciate it, man, especially the day before Thanksgiving.
The work never stops, right?
Nope,
No
not,
holiday.
no, not in
I don't,
this
I don't
industry.
want them. I don't like holidays. I don't like time off. I get
I-
antsy. Whenever it's the holiday season, this is the most aggravating time of year for me because like people don't work as much, and I get really antsy if I'm not working.
Yeah, I hear you.
Especially the music industry, from like basically today until maybe
Yes.
January 15th. It's gonna be crickets.
No, why
everywhere.
is that with a bunch of fucking band people who all claim they're all cynical people who don't like Christmas? Why is it that those people out of all the demographics take all the time off in the world?
Because they're lazy.
That's it. And this is why I asked Finn to be on the show. Dude, I gotta say, I love your candor and the way that you're correlating entrepreneurship with music, and not just being in a band, but being in the music industry as a whole. I love that whole thing, and that's kind of like what got me going down the rabbit hole with all of your content. So I would like to talk about that a bit, in kind of where that came from, and maybe give a quick bio to the audience listening, where you come from and what your history is in music and as a dude.
Well, I grew up in a little town. Well, I was actually born in Bellingham, Washington, which is kind of halfway between Seattle and Vancouver, kind of up near the Canadian border. But I grew up in Snohomish, Washington, which is a suburb maybe about 20 miles north of Seattle. Back in the 90s is kind of, when I was a young man. Now I'm an old man, but I was a young man back in the 90s. And basically, I just got really hooked on punk and hardcore back then, like DIY hardcore. I discovered through, if any of you guys listening to this come from a similar background, I discovered Maximum Rock and Roll in like '92 or something like that. And that just kind of opened up the
Yes.
door to the whole world of like DIY punk and hardcore to me, and it just became my life for a very long time. So I started out making zines. I think when I was like 14 or 15, I started making zines, and I did that like in high school. I was never really in a serious band or anything like that. I've always enjoyed kind of documenting things more than playing music. I mean,
Right.
I can play music and record music, but I just kind of enjoy documenting stuff more. So I made zines, and I ended up, to your point about entrepreneurship. I started that thing when I was like 14. I'm not one of those people that is content to just make something for myself and nobody else ever sees it. Like to me, it's only I only think it's valuable if other people care about it. And so to me, like the creation and the marketing have always been part of the same thing since back then. So I made the zine and I was like, oh, wait a minute, how am I going to get anybody to like read this thing? Nobody knows I exist. So that's kind of when I got into that whole thing of like marketing. So I ended up selling a few thousand copies of those, maybe 2,000 copies or something like that by the time I was out of high school. And I graduated in 96. So this was before the internet as we know it. And when I think about it, I was like, I was thinking about this the other day. I was like, man, if you told me I had to sell 2,000 copies of a magazine now through the mail without the internet, like, I don't know if I could do that. But I did it when I was a kid. And so to your point about entrepreneurship, I guess that's kind of when I got the bug of, wanting to make shit and sell it. So
Right.
yeah, that's kind of where I got started. And then from there, I ended up kind of being in the design and marketing world for for my whole career. I worked at a design agency I worked at a couple agencies, did stuff for like Nike and Nintendo and Red Bull, and then some big consumer brands like I worked with Procter and Gamble a whole bunch, so on like Febreze and Swiffer and Tide and Balance, all that kind of stuff. Did marketing for Abercrombie and Fitch, design and marketing. So I designed like girls' t-shirts for Hollister for a while, made a few hundred of those. Then I did marketing when they were kind of really aggressively building out Asia and Europe. So helped with rolling out the marketing for all those flagship stores that opened in that time. So I worked there like 2009 to 2012.
Hmm.
After that, I worked at a company called Creative Live, which is the world's #1 online education platform for creators and entrepreneurs. I have that pitch.
Yeah,
Now.
buddy.
Yeah. And now I work for a company called URM Academy, which is an online education platform for rock and metal producers. And I'm also a partner in Get Good Drums, which is a software company with the guys from a band called Periphery that some of your listeners may know about.
Indeed. Al, you're a fan of the band.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I actually, on the way to the studio today, I'd seen a lot of your YouTube videos, but I wanted to kind of keep doing my research, so we didn't get on this and then just my dick is in my hand and you're having a bad time. So I was like, let's learn about this guy a little bit. And so I was like, I wonder if he has an actual podcast. I'm aware of the YouTube thing, but so I just I searched punk rock uh, MBA in my Apple podcast app, and this thing pops up. It just says chocolate croissant. And I'm
Oh,
like,
yeah, that's right.
does he have something to do with like a baking app? Like, is he also like a baller baker on top of everything else he does? And then I saw Matt Halpern in there, and I was like, oh, okay, it's starting to make more sense. So I listened to that, and that was awesome. I honestly wasn't even aware of that podcast, but yeah,
They
I'm a
stopped doing
huge
it,
Periphery fan.
unfortunately, but yeah.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
did have a podcast for many years. I have a couple different ones. Did maybe 100 episodes or something like that between the two of them. And I'm going to start a punk rock MBA podcast very soon, but not yet.
Oh, nice. I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, just it's just a matter of finding the time. You guys know how time consuming it is to like set this up and edit it and publish it
Ugh,
and all that
it's
stuff.
exhausting. Yeah.
People,
People know.
I don't think people understand how much work it is to produce an hour and a half of audio every week.
Yep. It's
Yeah,
true, man.
I mean, me included. This is only my second podcast with Stateside, and it's with the research and the travel and it's tough to it's deceivingly time consuming.
Yeah. And it's not free either.
No, it isn't.
No.
So I'm going to start doing it though, because how many episodes have you guys done? I'm sorry, I should have done my research,
No
but I
worries.
didn't.
This will be our 52nd episode. And
Okay,
like
so
he
you-
said, the second with Alan.
And it's more or less weekly, or
Yeah, pretty much. It's been just about on average every week. We're kind of I don't know, not rebranding, but we're hitting the refresh button on the podcast right about the 50th episode. I was doing the show with two other guys, Andrew and Neil, and you know how life is. They're doing their own thing. Neil's a producer.
fuck those guys.
Fuck the fucking. Finn just gets on and starts talking.
We actually have him here in studio. If you could say "fuck those guys" to their face.
Yeah, that would be.
Oh no, now
Completely
it's
kidding.
awkward.
Oh,
They're
no.
not here. They're not here.
That's the internet. No, but in all seriousness, Neil's a major dude. He's a producer I represent, and he's a busy guy. So it just wasn't the best fit, and so I just kept doing it alone for the past month and a half, and then decided I don't want to do it alone. And Alan is a major dude, and he's also a talented art director and designer, and we want to have the show eventually up on YouTube. So he
For
walked into the room. He's like, "This looks like your room when you're 15. Like, it's a bunch of posters."
Yeah, it's definitely time for the show to kind of turn a corner, and
Yeah.
I think that's what we've been working at for a couple weeks. So
Yeah, we're excited. It's gonna
Well,
be cool.
Alan, I'd be interested to hear more about your story. Like I said, I actually did graphic design for a long time, so I'm pretty passionate about that too. And as many of the I have a lot of criticisms of the music industry, but one thing that I like about the music industry is that there's a lot of really fucking good designers and illustrators in the music world.
yeah, and I think that's kind of a testament just to the competition to get in. I mean, I'm usually the first to say that my skill level upon beginning my work at Rise Records, that really wasn't what got me in the door. It was like a lot of people, it was networking and right place, right time. And honestly, being there, just within the rat race and kind of, I used to think that I was fast and efficient. And then when I started working there and my client base essentially goes from 2 to 3 bands a month as a freelancer to 200 plus bands on a roster, some of which are more needy than others. You learn to kind of flex some muscles that you didn't even know that you had. So
Mhm.
that's it. So it's been amazing. But honestly, I feel like, and even before this podcast, like I said, I did my research on you, and what I love is that I feel like we have some some huge similarities in how we came up, and then also some huge differences where yours was a little less music based in terms of like actual, like playing and being
Yeah.
a part of like a band and having that be your focus. That was my focus. My plan A was be a rock star. And then when I saw the reality of that situation, it quickly became not a plan at all. And so the plan B was start moving towards the skill that you built in an effort to become a rock star. And it's a very, as you know, it's a very entrepreneurial thing. Like you've got to try to get that band branded and marketed well. And we didn't know who to go to, so I was like, let me figure it out. I just downloaded this thing called Photoshop. I heard it's cool. I think it was Photoshop 7 was my
Hmm.
intro to it. And you go through that kind of unconscious incompetence for a decade or however long it takes until you start to kind of understand the game a bit. And it builds from there slowly but very fast at the same time. It's a really odd thing.
I'm in the conscious incompetence phase now.
That's awesome. That's actually incredibly humble of you to even say that, because I know some guys that have been in it for half the time you have been that are like, no, I'm in the conscious competence phase, and I have been basically the whole time.
Right.
Oh man, I don't know about you guys, but the older I get, it's not that I'm not confident. It isn't that necessarily. It's just, especially from working with as many just incredibly fucking talented people as I have, in particular in the last 5 or 6 years. Just to me, the bar for greatness is so high.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
I don't know that I could never say that I meet that bar. I mean, I don't think I suck or anything like that, but when you are around people who are truly like elite world class at a thing, you realize how high that bar really is. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there are some dudes out there that I'm right there with you. I've met some people that maybe have 50% the experience that I do, and they're just pure cyborg. And you're like, oh, okay,
Exactly.
you're supposed to be doing. So then, in a weird
Exactly.
set, in one hand, you're like, it's discouraging, but in the other hand, if you think about it the right way, it's the exact opposite. It's incredibly encouraging.
This is exactly why I stopped doing design, because of exactly what you are talking about. Like I worked really fucking hard at it, and I definitely don't suck. I'm better than most, but I'm not a cyborg like that. There are people I worked with, I'm just like, what in the fuck? Like, how do you do that? You're so much better, and it comes so much more quickly to you than it does to me. That I will I anything that I do, like I don't want to be like okay at it. Certainly not anything creative. Like I don't think anybody gets into a creative field with the goal of being pretty good. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like I want to feel like I am great at what I do. And I realized I was just never going to be as good as they are, because, it's the same. People don't want to talk about like the role of genetics and things like that, but natural talent is a thing. We accept that in sports, but for whatever reason, we don't accept it in other fields, which I don't get.
Right.
And I realized I just don't have as much natural talent as they do, for art and design. And so I was like, okay, well, what do I have a natural talent for? And what I realized is, I guess I'm a lot better at kind of marketing, the creative side of marketing and like business problem solving, I guess, which tying back to talking about zines and stuff like that, I realized that's the part I always kind of really liked more than anything else, and that I would like to think I am probably world class at. So I think it's really important for people to recognize like what wouldn't even say what they're, like you said to me, it's not their limit. It's not a negative thing. It just is what it is. And I think a lot of people frustrate themselves by attempting to be world class at a thing that they just don't have the talent to be world class at, especially in music. Like there's people that want to be bring the horizon, but you're not Ollie Sykes.
Right.
It's not going to fucking happen.
Yeah.
I'm not Ollie Sykes either. That's why he is who he is. Like,
Yeah, and it's kind of what makes it special, is
Yes.
people understanding that there isn't just an Ollie Sykes around every corner.
and you can't, no matter how hard you work, you can't be Ollie Sykes. You can't be LeBron. You can't be Floyd Mayweather. So you just have to come to terms with that. And to
Right.
me, that's not a negative thing. That's just life.
Yeah,
you
it
know?
well, it honestly it reminds me of James and I are both big Gary V
I was
fans.
just gonna say that.
Are you a fan of
Uh-huh.
Gary Vaynerchuk?
Yeah,
Yeah, he's always talking about you play to your strengths, not your weaknesses. And I
exactly.
think a lot of people are scared to sacrifice their ego and say like I'm just not the designer that so many people before me have been. So I'm going to move, but the first thing I think when you talk about that is that that's why you end up in these other endeavors where you're successful is cuz you don't sit around trying to beat yourself over the head about something you're not into and that you're clearly not seeing success from. So you're constantly on the offensive instead of the defensive.
Well, Gary has one of the things he talks about, that people don't pick up on because they pick up on. So I never met him, but we did a bunch of stuff with him at Creative Live because the CEO of Creative Live is friends with him. They've known each other for a long time. So we
Oh,
did a
okay.
bunch of stuff with him. Um, People pick up on the kind of obvious things that he says. They brand him as like a motivational speaker. Um, and there's a little bit of that, but one of the things he talks about that nobody really picks up on is the whole thing about like you don't have to be the number one, you'd be a great number 14 or
Yeah,
number 7.
right.
Like that is such a smart, insightful thing to say, and more people should really ask themselves, would I be better off as the number 7? Would I be happier as the number 7? That's really the point. Is like the point is not like either you are LeBron James or you're shit, like it's not a binary thing
Yeah.
where either have to be the best in the world or you're a total fucking loser. Like there's a whole spectrum in between, and maybe you would be happier like just coming to terms with the fact that you are the third string backup kicker, not the star quarterback.
Yeah,
you
I'd
know
much rather play the game than not play at all, just because I don't
Ex-
get to be LeBron.
exactly. So I think more people really should embrace, just be realistic about who we are, and if it turns out that we're the number 7, like be stoked on that. Being number 7 is still pretty cool.
Yeah, and to go back on something you were talking about earlier, the value or the reason that we do all this stuff, the reason you're in a band or you make art or anything worth doing, it's not it's not just to be fucking happy. I could be happy going to Disneyland. I could be happy watching a stupid movie. That's not the point. The point is to do something fulfilling. The point is
Hmm.
to work hard at something and make something happen. Like just same thing with the podcast. This isn't always fun, but that's not the fucking point. And I think
Wouldn't be
that
fulfilling if it was fun all the time.
no, it really wouldn't. Exactly. That resistance and that pull, the ebb and flow of hard and easy, it's why we do it. And again, it's one of the things I love about how you because you kind of have a few different things on your channel. You do the how did they get so big, and then you kind of have more like a podcast where you just have your laptop open, you're just talking about one topic and just kind of surfing around. But
I've only done a couple of those
I
because
like them, by the way.
I
I
like
think they're
them
good.
too, but you got to focus, I think, on one thing,
Yep.
and
I think
at
the
least
channel might not be the best place for it. The podcast
exactly,
would be.
exactly, yeah. So I would like to do more of those, but yeah, I only did a few for that reason because it was just clear to me what people wanted. So
Yeah, exactly.
that's another thing I would say, since I am giving advice because I have a fucking microphone in front of me
There you
and
go.
I am I'm gonna talk and everyone else is gonna listen.
Amen.
Um, this is America, but yeah, maybe a piece of advice that I wish that I could give, myself in the past that might be helpful for other people is like you don't um, you don't get to choose what your lane is. You just get to like find it, and once you find it, like just stay in that lane and um, be give the people what they want is what I would say. So like for example, in the back when I was in the design agency world, we did industrial design. So the way that works is there's designers who sketch the thing. So if we're working on a watch or a backpack or whatever the fuck it is, they'll sketch the thing, they'll make the pretty picture, and then there's people who take that sketch and turn it into like actual 3D geometry in the software, and it's perceived that the designers are the creative ones and the people who make the models are not as creative or whatever. And so we had this one guy that we worked with, an employee who was not the world's best designer, but he was really fucking good at the 3D part of it. and he was really frustrated because he wanted to be the designer. And we kept telling him, like, Tony, you're so fucking good at like the 3D stuff. You're so much better at that than everybody else. Why don't you just like embrace that? And why don't you just like own the fact that you're a fucking badass at doing SolidWorks? And he eventually did. And he, instead of coming to work and being really frustrated every day because he wasn't a cat instead of a dog, he was like, you know what? I'm a dog and that's cool. I'm just going to like embrace being the SolidWorks guy.
Yeah.
And so to your point before, like I would enjoy doing some more like, commentary type stuff, but it doesn't seem like that's what people want from me on YouTube. And I'm not going to push against the river. I'm just grateful that people will pay attention to me talking about anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, so a few things with that. I want to know why the growth in the channel, because I know you'd mentioned before a few times that it had been a channel for a while,
Mm-hmm.
and you put stuff up and you put stuff up rather, and you didn't get a lot of response,
Right.
and then something changed over that time. Is
Yeah.
that kind of why
Yeah.
you
So
zeroed in a little bit?
exactly what it is, for a long time, I kind of didn't really want to talk about music, just because, like anything else, sometimes you get interested in other things, whatever. So I wanted to talk more about like business. And I tried, but people were not interested in me talking about business.
You mean like general business,
Yeah, pretty much, like in
non-music related?
particular. Yeah, yeah,
Y-
basically. Like careers and stuff like that, because I'm really passionate about that. But that's not what people wanted from me. So, to what I was talking
Mm.
about before,
Maybe just
I
on
ha-
YouTube, because I would love to hear more of that from you. But I
well,
think
yeah,
maybe on a podcast.
well, now that you know about me from talking about music on YouTube, yes.
Right.
Um, but
Okay, right, right, right.
you would never have known I existed otherwise.
That's the key.
So
That's a huge
exactly.
lesson.
Exactly. So I said, you know what? Fuck it. I'll talk about music. So I've written about music for many years, on some blogs. I've written for some magazines that some of you guys might have heard of, like Substream and Decibel and Terrorizer, and
Hmm.
I don't know, some other ones I'm not thinking of. Metal Sucks, these straight for those guys, Metal Injection. So I know that I can talk about this, and it's like, to me, one of the things, one of the corners of YouTube, there's like personalities who can just read the phone book and we think it's entertaining because they're so charismatic. And I'm not that person. And then the other corner of YouTube, I think, is like subject matter experts who may not be the most charismatic person in the world, but they have just insanely deep knowledge about
Yeah.
some particular thing, which, for better or for worse, I know a lot about, this weird music. So, and I've built a following in the past talking about it. So I said, well, you know what? Fuck it. I'll just talk about music. Maybe people will care about that. And they did. And the other thing that I have, people have told me that I'm good at, which I guess I am good at, is taking like a big, complex mass of information and distilling it down into like bullet points. So that's basically what I do with my videos is, why did this or that become popular or not popular, or you know what I mean? And like and so I learned, just like how Tony learned to embrace SolidWorks, I have learned to embrace talking about music, because even though I don't necessarily give a fuck about what the best No Effects record is, what I do care about or enjoy is I like to figure out why people like what they like,
Right.
and whether that is food or a car or hiking, or it doesn't matter to me. It just so happens that because I know so much about music, that it would make sense to me. It's a good fit for me to figure out why people like the music they like, which is essentially what my channel is about.
And I like that you make it really clear, and it's one of the things I knew that I would enjoy talking to you, because I kind of say this stuff a lot. You make it very clear that it's not about what you like. You know what I mean?
Right.
You've said that many times. Like, look, this isn't Slipknot. This video about Slipknot or Blink or Bring Me the Horizon, whoever it is, it's not
Yeah.
about me. It's about you. It's about what do
Exactly.
you, the people, like, and why do you like it?
Exactly.
And I think
'Cause who gives a fuck what I like or don't like?
that's right, man. We're old dudes who grew up with hardcore, and like it doesn't fucking matter what bands I like. I'm
Nope.
35 years old. Ain't no one giving a fuck what I like. It doesn't matter. It simply doesn't matter. And it's like now we're in this place in the industry where sincerity is everything. You know, you can't just bullshit and I don't know. I mean, that's why I like you, Alan. You're a very genuine, sincere guy, and it's pretty obvious what you're into and what you're not into. But at the end of the day, you're more like Finn. Like you wanna get down to why things work.
Yeah, well, I think that's the magic of hitting the age that the three of us are around, and for me, I mean, that's anything over 30, because that's where I
Hmm.
just start. No shit, like before you started talking, James, when Finn was wrapping up, I almost responded to everything he said. A lot of intelligent stuff.
Yeah.
I almost followed up with, "So Finn, do you have any pets?" Because that's really all I cared about for some weird reason.
Right.
Right at that, not that I wasn't listening to what he said, but I'm just at 21, I would have been like, dude, don't say that. It's going to sound rude. But at 32, I'm like, I'm interested in that.
That's what I want to hear
I
about.
want to know
I
right
want to know
now.
if he's a dog or cat guy.
And I
Yeah.
also want to know which side of my brain is right, is because sometimes when he's talking and I'm actively listening, but I'm also like, the house looks really neat, so I don't believe he has a dog. But he also doesn't strike me as a cat person. So I've got this inner kind of debate going on, and now I just want to know which Alan is correct.
Yeah. What are you? Are you a dog or cat guy or none?
I love any animal that loves me.
Oh, that's a good answer.
I don't care whether it's a goat or a horse or a rabbit or a snake.
But do you have a pet?
We have a cat, yes. And
Oh,
she-
so I was wrong.
she's sleeping on this couch right behind me. I would love to have a dog, but
Okay.
I don't think. I mean, I love our cat too. I'm not saying one is better than the other, but I don't think we'd be very good dog parents. You know, I know some people
Yeah.
are cool with the idea of putting a dog in a crate all day, and maybe dogs are cool with that, but it doesn't feel right
What
to
do you do
me.
with your dog?
I put her in a crate always, even when
Oh
I'm home. No, I'm
no.
kidding. I'm totally
Fucking
kidding.
monster.
Yeah, I've had her for 4 years. She's been in a crate the entire time.
Yeah.
No, I rescued a pit bull. I can't believe I just said rescued because I make fun of people for doing that. But
Boy, what a cool guy, Alan.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. You want a fucking
yeah,
trophy?
she was
Where's
$250,
Wow.
so I'm not about to say rescue.
Worse than a vegan.
Yeah, so I got a pit bull maybe 4 years ago, but I'm also just I'm an insane dog person. Like I love dogs. Unfortunately, I would say, Jesus, 2 weeks before I got her, because I was unemployed when I got her, and I was like, I'm gonna do some freelance work, and then I need a bit of a project. And I had in my childhood, we at one point had 7 dogs. We had quite a bit of land, and
Holy shit.
I'm very comfortable with dogs, and I enjoy training them. So I was like, I need a bit of a project outside of freelance. So I get her, and then we're no shit laying in bed watching Cops, and she's asleep on me, and I'm still getting used to her. She's getting used to me, and I get a text asking me to come work at Rise Records. So I'm like, I just went from all the time in the world to 10 hours a day, gotta go. I know it's been a good 2 weeks, but now I'm gonna basically
Sounds
adopt
about
you,
right.
and you're just gonna hang out in this duplex and wonder what the fuck is up. We made it work. I mean, now that I bought a house, she's in her first domicile where she is allowed to be. Like I didn't have to lie about. I've had 4 apartments before this where I'm like, yeah, no dog. Or if they see the dog, I'm like, they ask me what breed the dog is, and I say I think it's a terrier mix. Like I'm not about to say pit bull because you're gonna say no. But yeah, I'm massive into dogs. Right now she just she chills in the basement. I got a TV down there, and I put on that 15-hour relaxing dog music clip that's on YouTube. I don't know if you can call it a
Oh.
clip because it's
Haven't seen
Wow.
it's like half a day long.
What kind of music is that?
It's honestly it drove me nuts the 2 seconds I heard it. It's a lot of like
Can I hear it right now?
it's kind of some weird ominous tones to me anyway. I didn't really
Ominous tones.
yeah, I didn't dig it, but
Have you seen that movie Forgetting Sarah Marshall?
yes.
Where he
That might be my favorite movie.
dude, it's so good.
It's
where he
not
talks
a
about
bad movie at all.
writing ominous tones.
What if
for a
the
living.
relaxing dog music was just 15 hours of Woe Is Me?
That would be
Yes.
sick.
Relaxing dog music. Let's share this with homeboy.
I want to know how did they decide that this was relaxing?
That's
stuff?
my
I
thing.
know.
Like,
Did
how
they
did they
poll them?
poll? How many dogs did they poll
It's pretty
on this?
subjective. Is
Yeah.
this it, Alan? Which one?
Doesn't look like it. I put
Show
in.
your dog.
Oh, it's that one. Yep.
This one?
Yep, that one.
This one?
Yep. Like
It
right
helped
out of the gate, I didn't like it.
helped 4 million dogs.
That's a lot of time.
How did
Jesus.
they calculate that it was 4 million dogs?
I mean, to
Yeah,
me,
that's a good question.
this is Stranger Things season 3. That's all it sounds like to me.
This sounds like depressing. I want to kill myself
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, really.
But
Oh.
this is
The
on.
dog
This is in
looks
my
like
living
it has
room right
low
now.
self-esteem, too.
Yeah, that dog looks bummed,
Yep.
dude.
That dog saying, "Turn it off, dude."
Okay, I'm turning it off now. Jesus, God.
It's a
Please
bummer.
subscribe to help more dogs. Well, I want to help dogs, so I guess I better subscribe. Geez.
Yeah.
Fucking relax.
Yeah,
Did you
Jesus.
subscribe?
No,
Okay,
I
good.
did not. So I think a dog just died. I'll like it
Oh,
though. There,
man.
I just liked it.
There we go. He
This-
saved its life.
This
It's back.
podcast just took a dark turn.
Yeah,
It did.
real dark. Suicide and dog death in like 10
Yeah.
seconds.
But anyway, back to the point. I'm glad that you guys can you can you can be honest with yourselves and say, I don't know that a dog would really thrive here. So
Yeah.
why bring it in here?
Yeah, don't want to be a good. Although we sometimes joke about, we love our cat very, 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 very much. But
Mm.
sometimes we joke about it. We'll say like, "Well, what kind of dog should we get when Kitty dies?"
What's the name of your cat? Is it Kitty?
Her name is Banana. But
That's such a good name for a cat.
I have a thing where I never use, for some reason, I have never called my wife by her name to
Right,
her.
right.
Ever.
That means you love her, by the way.
Does it?
Yeah, I
Okay.
think so. I have
It
like
just-
700 nicknames for my wife and my cats.
I don't use any pronoun for her when I'm talking to her. Like I don't say hey you, or maybe like I just like hey look I just
Yeah.
for some using any sort of pronoun or name for her to her feels so strange to me.
I like that. Is your cat a girl or a boy?
She is a girl. Yes.
And what does Banana look like?
Well, I don't want to bother her. But
Of
she's
course.
a tortie.
Oh.
So yeah, she's a sweetheart. I got her from the shelter. So have you guys ever heard of Paws? I don't know if they have it in Oregon.
That sounds familiar.
So they have a cool thing where they give you a personality test, and they've also like graded all their animals. I think they have dogs also. So there's like 9 different categories. Basically, they rank it on 2 axes. One is like how much energy it has, and the other is like how affectionate it is. And I said I want the one with the most affection and the least energy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah, that's
why
ideal.
you get a cat, for Christ's sake.
I was like, what? Who wants a cat that like
gonna
is
ask that.
playful and distant?
Yeah,
Like,
send me the most pumped up, least loving cat
Yeah.
you can.
Why
Just
get a cat?
Full serial killer cat, please.
Yes, please.
Yeah, they're like, I hate you. Leave me alone. Wait, feed me. Okay, now go away.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's get back to serious stuff, guys. Let's be
Yeah.
serious people for a second here.
Okay.
Okay, what is it like being on YouTube today? Experience with the growth of the channel, etc.
Well, I think that you should have written that question out more completely.
Yeah, it's
That's what I think.
terrible question.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, so I will answer. I guess the main thing
That was like
there,
like a person who doesn't speak English wrote it.
Right. Yeah, it was
A
translated.
Russian immigrant.
So, well, I'll give you.
I probably wrote that while walking.
It's a question from one of our Russian fans.
Gotcha. Well,
Yes.
I will give you
Vlad.
a funny tidbit. Since it's Thanksgiving, so my wife's entire family is from Vietnam.
Whoa,
A lot of them don't speak English very well.
that's
and
fun.
So, there's like the kids table at Thanksgiving, right?
Yeah.
So for some reason or another, but her sisters are all married to American guys. For some reason or another, I got stuck at what I called the ESL table at Thanksgiving last year, where I was the only person there who doesn't speak Vietnamese. So
Oh, bummer.
sitting there for an hour and a half, just listening to her watching her family like blab at each other in
Just
Vietnamese.
having a great time talking
Yeah,
shit about
and-
you.
Exactly. Oh, they do. Yes.
Yeah, this fucking
Um,
white boy.
Yes. But anyhow, so the as far as the growth of the channel goes, I think it's interesting, and it kind of makes me identify a little bit with some of these bands. Now, granted, they're experiencing something that's like 100 times bigger than what I have, but I got like 20,000 new subscribers last month,
It's crazy.
and I got like 200,000 views on a couple of videos and stuff, which is small potatoes, like in the grand scheme of things. But for me, to suddenly have 20,000, I've had a decent following before, but it came much more slowly. And so those people knew me. And if I said X, they would be able to contextualize it because they read or heard a bunch of things that I said before.
Yeah.
And so they, would interpret it maybe a little bit more fairly, I guess, than strangers might. And so it kind of made me really understand, like, what about these bands that get really famous? So if I'm experiencing a 0.5 out of 10, what about a band that becomes really famous really quickly, like Green Day or something like that, that goes from playing Gilman, playing a fucking stadium 2 months later.
In their early 20s too.
Yeah, and you see them like exactly. So I just turned 40, and that's exactly what I was thinking. Is like, wow, how would I handle?
Yeah.
I if I was 22, I sure would have said some real fucking dumb stuff that probably would have come back to
I
haunt
know.
me.
Fuck, I think about that shit all the time, dude. Oh God, I would. You don't want to know. I was such a shitbag at 22. I was such a turd. Like no one should allow me to say anything or. Oh my God. Yeah, and you're absolutely right. These bands get big so quickly. But anyway, back to you. So I mean, have you had like, the comment section on YouTube is just infamous for being negative and a shithole place. Are you
Well, so
navigating
I
that
have
well?
quite a bit of experience with that because I had a pretty popular blog before, and I was, I think, the most popular writer on Metal Sucks for many years. So I have, lots of experience getting like nasty comments and stuff, and it doesn't really bother me for the most part. It does get old. Like if you get literally 1,000 shitty comments in like half a day, um, it gets a little old, but
Yeah.
it's fine. Um, it's more the part that's more well, so I guess what I believe, well, I don't believe it, I know this is true, is that you get what you give. So the kind of energy you put out is the kind of energy you're going to get back. And so I try very hard to put out like positive, friendly energy. And that doesn't mean I get it back all the time, but like if look at the comments on my Green Day video, and you guys know how many people hate Green Day, right?
Yeah.
You would expect that
Yeah,
to be,
you're absolutely right.
yeah,
I
you would
remember thinking
expect
that.
that to be a flood of people talking, oh, they're not punk, blah, blah, whatever. You can imagine, and there's very little of that. There's a little bit of it, but really the comments on there are overall like really positive.
Yeah, I
And so
agree.
like what I was saying, I think that for the most part, you get what you give. Um, and so I've tried very hard to cultivate a community, of people who don't leave nasty comments.
Yeah, I love that. So basically you're taking the time up front to set up an environment where people are encouraged to be constructive and positive. And if they have a disagreement, they're not going to be just total assholes for no reason.
Exactly, exactly. And so another thing which is I guess rare on YouTube, is if I get something wrong or if somebody brings up something I didn't think about, then I say it like,
Right.
actually, you're right. I probably should have said that. Or good point. I think I got that one wrong, you know?
Mhm.
Um, and it's a little thing, but it goes a long way. I mean, how often, first of all, I read all my comments and I reply to most of, maybe not most, but a very good chunk of them, especially if there's something like nice or constructive or something like that. And so, you set the tone of the conversation. And it doesn't mean people are going to follow it 100% of the time, but by and large, they do. So if they see that you are friendly and nice and you're engaging with people and you're directing the conversation in like a constructive way, then they'll either follow it or they'll leave because they don't like it. And that's
That's
fine with
right.
me.
Right,
You
there's a
know,
lot of like shitty. I mean, look at the biggest YouTubers out there. The Logan Pauls,
awful.
awful. It's absolute garbage. But they put garbage out and they get garbage back.
Exactly.
He's one of
And
the most viewed YouTubers, but he's also one of the most hated YouTubers. And there's a
what
reason for it.
I'm curious, I think he's like 21 or 22.
Oh God, what
Um,
a disaster.
so to our point before, and and I can't stand his content, but I don't really fault him for it because I probably would have done and said, I think I'm a nice person, but I definitely would have done and said some equally obnoxious things at that age.
Yep.
And especially if you have literally tens of millions of people giving you positive
And
reinforcement
tens
and
of millions
money
of
for it,
dollars.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Can you blame him for
I know.
doing it?
I know.
You know? I mean, just the same as like you see a lot of like Justin Bieber is a good
Yep.
example of this. You know, he's been famous since he was a child, and he is like super rich, super famous, gorgeous, and he's had people telling him he's the most, that he's God since he was
Hmm.
like 11 years old. How could he possibly be any different?
I know. It's insane to expect anything different.
I feel bad for him in a lot of ways, actually.
Speaking of garbage content, one of the videos I really liked from you, you were talking about how you were comparing the success of bands who put out original songs and original
Right.
music videos, original art versus people, goofy ass people with cool haircuts will cover a song, and that cover of a song that's done with a kazoo and a fucking,
Right.
it's like zany fucking video of the Green Day
Yeah.
song
So
that
what I was
gets
talking
way more views.
Yeah, so what I was talking about is there's a band called Our Last Night, which is basically like a metalcore cover band, I guess. I mean, they have originals, but to your point, their covers get 100 times more interest
It's crazy.
than anybody. And this is like I actually kind of regret making that video because although I believe in anything, I mean I agree with everything I said in it, but in regard to what we were talking about before, I just kind of really kind of wish I wouldn't have put that energy out there. So I don't think I'll ever do
How
anything
come?
like that. I don't want people like I said it's like the thumbnail says like stop watching this crap.
Yeah,
Um
being a
I
little
just
judgment. Yeah,
Yeah, it's just
yeah,
not really the energy I want to be putting out.
right.
So but
Right,
that
but to
said,
be fair, you have balanced a lot of your content with in the message of what you do with the problem with hardcore or the problem with these scenes that they can be very elitist. So
yeah,
I mean, you
and
have pointed that out. Like
yeah,
you got to have a balance.
yeah, I don't want to have a balance. I'm just not interested in putting out anything negative. So I kind of wish I wouldn't have
Yeah,
done that
especially
one.
on
But
YouTube. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. It's not adding. It's
Well,
not
it's good
making
that
it.
you know that. That's a good thing.
Yeah,
I think
but
that's why you'll do well.
that said, so what I was talking about in that video was that cover band. In general, the larger phenomenon of like all these like zany covers of like Japanese schoolgirl plays Meshuggah on a tuba, and it just these things get so much fucking traffic, and I don't blame, and it's frustrating to me specifically like that I don't when normies watch that stuff, that's I get it, they are just looking for something funny, but what's aggravating to me is that metal fans watch that stuff and they
Yeah.
watch it more than they pay attention to new bands.
Right.
And it just like, so if you look at I don't know, look at any big metal blog, Metal Sucks or whatever, like you can see how many, you can see the engagement on stuff. And any of that, like basically what gets engagement is either that or, uh, Ozzy called the drummer for Iron Maiden a butt face,
Yeah. Gossip.
It's just this lowest common denominator shit. And I don't blame the people who create it, or like I mean, I'm friends with the guys from Metal Sucks. I know that they don't like publishing that stuff, but they do it because it's a business and that's what people want to read. So the point of that video was really directed not so much at the creators, but the consumers. Like we created that situation by rewarding it with our eyeballs or clicks. So stop watching it. Like I get why these cover bands are cover bands because people watch it,
Yeah.
and it's because they're not paying attention to the originals. So you in our world we claim to have so much respect for original art and blah blah blah. We claim that our taste level is up here, but then there's 10 million views of Japanese schoolgirl playing Meshuggah on a bassoon.
Right. Yeah.
So that was kind of my point of that video. So I don't fault anybody for making it. It's especially if that's their job. If that's what you want to do with your time, and people are into it, then I get it. It's a business, but I really wish people would give it less attention. It's just like the most lowest common denominator garbage. Which like uh, one thing that encourages me very much about YouTube in particular is that there's the taste level on YouTube, I think, has gotten so much better in the past like 4 years, I would say. Like you guys remember in like 2010 or something like that, what was on YouTube?
Oh God.
Just trash.
Yeah. It was just cat videos
Yeah.
and yeah.
And now it's stuff like this conversation that we're having right now, which I think is pretty cool.
It's true. It's very
You know?
promising.
Yeah, and that just came around in the past couple years. And there's the other thing that's encouraging to me as an older person is that there's a lot of older people. Like there weren't people our age on YouTube in 2010. It
No,
was kids.
and it's like you've pointed out before. I mean, you either get on the train or you get off. This is what is happening. You know, the
Yeah.
cable is going to be gone. It's just gone. The Fox News, ABC, that is Instagram, like Gary Vee always talks about. That's the equivalent to those big broadcasting networks now. It is YouTube and I guess Netflix and everything like that. So that's where everything's going, whether you're old, young, fat, it doesn't matter. Like that's what it is now. That's it. It's where everything is. I go to YouTube all the time now, and I never thought I'd be a guy that watched fucking YouTube channel. I do all the time now.
Same.
Yeah.
It's like I would rather watch YouTube than anything else. I'd rather watch YouTube than Netflix or TV or
too.
anything else. Which again, I used to think YouTube was garbage.
Yep.
But you know, as we were talking about, I'm and as Gary talks about, you know, my point of view on any of these things changes by the day. So
Yeah.
YouTube might suck today, but if it's great tomorrow, then I'm on board.
And also, I mean, a lot of that stuff, it's like saying someone that says I don't like YouTube is like saying I don't like ice cream. It's like there's a lot of flavors out there, man. What do you mean?
Or like saying I don't like food.
I don't like food. Yeah, it's even more like saying I don't like food. I mean, there's something on YouTube for everybody because it's not one thing. It's just a broadcasting opportunity for everyone. And there's like the barrier to entry is really everything's changed. You know, you don't need a huge budget. You don't need to convince a studio to let you have a show. You can just go do it. There's no excuses.
Alan, what are your favorite channels?
I mean, I like a lot of the podcasters for sure.
I said Alan, not James.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Al.
Jesus,
Hogging the microphone over there.
So this is the James podcast, and more about.
Like, what's funny is I thought I heard Alan, but I was like, maybe I'm just being egotistical, and then
no, I spaced out.
Yeah, so my thing lately, it's not a channel. I kind of go through. I don't really do the channel subscribe kind of thing because I noticed that a lot of channels will put out some shit that I'm into, and then a handful of duds, and then some shit that I'm into, and a handful of duds. So I don't really trust channel to channel. I think I have a few. I subscribe to my 14-year-old brother has sort of like a video game thing. I'm gonna do that just to be supportive. But I typically just go through just rabbit holes and I kind of fetish out on searches. And my latest thing has been just classic Tom Green clips, just whole episodes of Tom Green. And then recently super obsessed with Larry King Now, which is just it's what we're doing right now, except
oh yeah, he's great.
But his guests mean a lot more than any of us do in the world. And yeah, it's so fascinating. I love that he's kind of hit this point. He could be 125 or 65. I don't even know, but
closer to 125.
He just doesn't care. And I actually on my Instagram story the other day I posted this thing where who was it? Who was his guest? I can't remember who his guest was, but he said something about what's something you believed in as a kid that you later felt like a fool for thinking was real. And the guest was might have been Bill Maher. The guest just said God. And what I love about
it was Tom Segura.
Was it Tom Segura?
I think it might have been Tom Segura.
What I love about Larry King is that so many people would ask that question, get an answer, move on to the next question. But Larry King, at his age, he's just like, the world wants to know what I think about, the answer to this question. So he'll stop and almost forget that he's filming a show. And he'll be like, oh, this is just a conversation, a closed conversation between me and somebody else.
Yeah.
So when somebody said God, he looked at him, he's like, me too. And they just go on this weird little tangent about it. And he's just like, he's the world's crazy grandpa. And I'm just so into that. So I've been obsessed just watching Larry King in my living room with my pit bull.
It's great. Yeah, that's definitely a good one.
I'm a big fan. There's two channels that I really like a lot. So my about half of my family maybe worked in corrections. So my dad was a corrections officer. My stepmom worked at a prison also.
Oh, that's awesome.
My aunt worked at a juvenile detention facility, and my cousin, her son, is essentially a parole officer now. A little bit different than that, but basically a parole officer. So I grew up hearing about like prison all the time. So I watched a lot of prison channels.
Oh,
Uh,
Scared Straight and stuff.
no, 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 no. There's one called Fresh Out that's really good.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
I think you guys would like it. It's a guy who did a bunch of Fed time. So for those who don't know, there's Fed time and there's state time. They're a little bit different. He did a bunch of Fed time for bank robbery. I think he did like 9 years or something. And so he just kind of he interviews people that came out of prison and they just talk about what they learned. He's a really thoughtful guy. So that's a really good one. And there's another guy that was sort of one of his friends, this guy named OG Badger, um, who started his own channel. What's really interesting about it, the guy that does Fresh Out, and I guess sort of touches on a lot of the same things I talk about on my channel. The guy who does Fresh Out is this big black guy named Big Herc, and Badger is he doesn't say, but I think he must have been in the Aryan Brotherhood because he's got the right tattoos and stuff like that, and yet they're friends, you know. So they're able to like put aside the prison politics, which are a much more serious version of scene politics, right? You know, because it's like people actually die over that stuff in prison, and yet these two, and outside of prison too, and yet these guys are able to put that aside and have these cool conversations and stuff like that. So those
Nice.
are like two of my current favorite channels.
Very cool. I've been digging the Vice News channel. That's a good one. I mean, that's like, big time. Big
Yeah,
time
I feel
stuff,
like
but
Vice is all over the place. It'll be
it's not always good, but most times.
yeah, there's like
they're fair.
some current stuff, and then it'll just be like, oh, these two girls
Yeah.
they went to go work as sex workers in the tiniest town in
It's
Alabama,
like super random.
and you're just like, that
specific.
sounds insane. I mean, I'll watch it, but it's weird.
Yeah. Yeah, it can be a bummer too.
Do you guys watch what is the Jameel is it Jameel Maddox?
Is it a Netflix thing?
Yeah, no, it's a Vice thing. It's Hate Thy Neighbor. Do you guys watch that at all?
Mm-mm. I think I know the guy that's been on Gary Vaynerchuk's. That
Maybe. I
guy.
don't know. But I watched all of season 1 and it was awesome. There's just it's a little political. It's not really my thing, but the way that they produce the show, it's super interesting. Essentially, he just kind of he's from the UK. He's I want to say I don't know if he's half black or full black, but and he's got like an English accent. He's just a very like cultured dude.
Oh, I think I know what you
And
mean.
he'll just go hang with super extremist KKK guys,
Yep.
and
Yep.
they're not a fan of him at all. But he's just like, I just want to talk. I just want to kind of
Oh,
get.
I've seen this guy. Yeah, he's a really interesting guy.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that whole first season was amazing. I don't know if I completed the second season, but from what I remember, it was awesome.
Have you guys seen the one where it's another Vice one where the guy, like, I saw him on Rogan's podcast and then I went and started to watch the show on Vice. He's a guy that goes around and like basically tries drugs from around the world.
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
he's a professor, isn't he?
Mhm.
Something like that, yeah. And it sounds like a bonehead, like this guy's getting fucked up. It's like,
Right.
but it's way more interesting
He's
than
a
that.
sharp guy.
Yeah, really
Uh,
smart.
Anytime Rogan talks about, anytime the topic of like animals or drugs comes up, I'm out. I
Yeah,
instantly delete the episode.
You're like,
yeah.
see ya, which happens to be
just-
a lot.
Okay. Yep. Exactly. So I don't make it through a lot of them. I was a religious listener since I don't know 2009 or
So-
whenever he started doing it.
Can you specify what do you mean when he talks about animals? Like hunting, or do you mean like when he just nerds
Jamie,
out?
pull up that picture of that jacked chimp. Did you
Gotcha.
guys know? Did you guys know that a 150-pound chimp can pull 1,200 pounds?
I know.
Well,
He really gets off
Alan,
on it.
1,200 pounds. That thing could tear your fucking arms off, Alan.
Yeah.
Jamie, look at this one over here. I'm just okay. I'm done. Or
Yeah.
the wolves or anything. you
Yeah,
know.
he loves like wolves and he's obsessed with coyotes for some
Yeah,
reason
yes.
and how similar they are to wolves. He's such a
Yeah.
stoner.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
I'm
Which
the
is
same as
endearing,
you.
though.
For me, it's whenever he talks about Regenikine, he's like,
Oh,
oh, there's
yeah.
this doctor in Germany.
Yeah.
It's
right.
Regenikine, man. They put
Yeah,
new
listen, I
blood
got
in a
these stem
centrifuge.
cells in my shoulder, and it was just like, this thing had been killing me for years. And
Yeah.
after I went to Germany, it was just like overnight.
Like, oh,
I
it must be
I
nice to
couldn't
be a
believe-
multimillionaire. Oh,
You know,
cool.
the big pharma, they don't want this stuff to be legal in the U.S. That's the problem.
Right.
Yeah.
And that'll be like a 45-minute rant.
Exactly.
Yeah, I watched that episode. He had Mel Gibson and then Mel Gibson's father's doctor on it, and like
Oh, yeah.
I can't believe I watched that whole episode. But yeah, it was
so random.
a lot of the same shit just being said over and over, and it was cool. I mean,
Right.
they went to Panama and they they saved Mel's dad's life or something. I guess I don't know. It was
Something,
that
I
show
guess.
gets super wacky. I'm very selective on what
Yeah,
Yeah.
episodes I watch.
I agree.
Well, it's a lot better when he used to have comedians on all the time who are just dummies. I mean,
Big
Yeah.
old dumbos.
they're funny, but they
And I also hated the Red Band days. Brian, I
Oh, really?
can't stand that fucking guy. I mean, I think he's funny and whatever, but I didn't
Sometimes,
like him in the
yeah.
context of Rogan.
Yeah, you need him in small doses because he.
When Rogan was mean to him, he was always fucking
Yeah.
bullying.
I mean, I
and
kind
hated
of get
watching
that.
it.
I think you
I
put Red
get it
Band
for
around me
sure.
for 2 weeks,
Yeah.
I'm probably not going to be a.
Yeah,
Well, he would just blurt out dumb shit all the time that would derail the conversation, and
And then
Yeah.
he would laugh
Yeah.
about it for 45 minutes, and you're like,
Yeah.
dude, there's listeners. Like, try to reel
Yeah.
it in.
I think of Rogan's podcast as like we were talking about YouTube earlier. It's just a thing that there's everything on there. Like it's not all gonna be for you. And he talks
Right.
about that. Like you'll have hunters on. If you're not into hunting, don't check that one out.
Yeah.
You know.
I
and-
did enjoy when he had James Hetfield on there talking about beekeeping, though.
Yeah, it's the most random shit. And he'll always have people on. Like if he had you on, Finn, my
Yeah.
guess is he wouldn't even mention Punk Rock MBA. He wouldn't mention URM
No.
Academy. Like that's not the objective of being on Rogan's podcast.
No, we'd
You're
be
gonna-
talking about that Jack
You're
Chimp.
gonna be talking with the Jack
Yeah,
Chimp,
He wants to pull the most mundane thing out of people and then make that the. Which I mean, that's
which is kind of cool.
yeah, it's kind of a skill right there. For me, it's if I see a guest and there's the word doctors in there, I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I'll
Yeah.
catch it next week.
What's the one he always had? The girl.
Dr. Rhonda Patrick.
Yeah, I'm like, see
Oh,
ya.
yeah.
I'm like, cool,
See
pass.
ya.
And then next week it's
Yep.
Steve O, and I'm like, I'm
Oh,
listening
Yeah,
so hard.
Kurt, listen so hard. Yeah.
I listened
Ridiculous.
to most of the MMA ones because I've been a huge MMA fan.
Oh,
since
we
the
are
beginning.
too.
Oh, boom.
There's a few fighters who I like. I don't want to hear anything from Eddie Bravo's mouth ever for the rest. of
Oh
my life.
yeah, dude, I'm right there with you, man.
Yeah,
I
that guy's
mean-
a maniac.
Jiu-jitsu wise, yeah, we gotta all bow down to it. But the fucking flat Earth shit and conspiracy theory. Shut the fuck
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
God, he's exhausting.
Probably don't ever need to hear from what the fuck? Why can't I remember his name? Tim Kennedy ever again?
Yeah, I'm with
Oh,
you
see,
on
I
that.
like Kennedy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm a fan,
Yeah.
dude. I like Tim Kennedy. I think he's a beast.
Brian Stan might be my favorite MMA guest that he ever had.
Oh, I don't know who he
I mean,
is.
Brian
I'm
Stan
sure I
he's the
do.
straightest arrow. Like that guy
Exactly.
is
Which one is
vanilla
he?
ice cream.
Why do I not know?
He's all I know is he's got a Slipknot tattoo.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, like
he's a,
on
he's
his
a 185er.
yeah.
He might actually still be in the Marines. I'm not sure.
Oh, he's a fighter.
He's the
Yeah.
dude that Joe always wants to run for president.
Yeah, I'd consider giving him my vote.
I would
I'm a fan.
definitely consider it.
Yeah. Yeah, he is the straightest arrow that there ever was. He's like a real life G.I. Joe.
Yeah,
Is it just
all
Bri-
day. Yep.
Is it
He'll pop up.
that
There he
guy?
is. Yep.
Yep.
He's got the Slipknot S between his shoulder blades, and I can't believe no one
Oh,
ever talks
yeah,
about it.
Mr. Jaw. Yeah, he's a bad mofo. Is he
Yeah, he's great.
Bellator now, or is he still UFC?
I think he retired.
Yeah, he used to do
Gotcha.
some commentating for UFC, and I loved him as a commentator.
Oh, he fought Chael Sonnen.
Yep.
Okay.
He knocked out
gotcha.
Vanderlei too, I believe.
Yeah, he did.
You know, Chael is a local Oregon dude.
Yep, that's right. The gangster from West Lynn.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
right,
What
that's
it,
right.
Finn? I would die to know your opinion on Chael Sonnen.
I think he's hilarious. And I would not trust him farther than I could throw him, which is not very far.
That's the perfect answer. Yeah.
I mean, he's a convicted felon. He
Yeah, he didn't give a fuck.
popped, what, 3 times for PEDs?
He's very open about it too.
Yeah.
He's like,
Yeah,
yeah,
well,
if I
that's-
can get away with it, I'll do it again.
He likes to reply to that accusation with the word allegedly,
Oh,
Right.
even though it's very much in stone.
He's
My
a
favorite
confusing
one.
guy.
Did you guys ever listen to the Sherdog podcast?
A little
No,
bit,
'cause
yeah.
I've never.
So this was maybe 2009, before people were kind of on to Chael's shtick. When he had just kind of, so you guys may remember, he used to be really boring. Like nobody gave a fuck
Yeah.
about Chael.
Absolutely. He
At all.
would wrestle and then he would lose second round via triangle choke. That was
Exactly.
his move.
Yes, nobody cared at all about him. And then suddenly he just basically decided to like turn heel, and turns out he's really entertaining, and then he got really big. So
Yeah.
this was right after he turned heel, and people weren't quite hip to it yet. He was on Sherdog Radio, and he had fought on the same card as GSP. I don't remember which one it was, but he had fought like, third under GSP or whatever. And so they interviewed him on Sherdog Radio about it. He was like, well, GSP actually personally requested me to be on that card because he knew what a draw I am. And the host was like, wow, really? And he was like, oh fuck, I thought I was serious. So he's like, well, I mean, that's what I was told. I haven't actually asked GSP about it myself. But that's what I was told. You know what? Let me give him a call right now. Because I would hate to give you bad information. So
That's
he
so good.
dialed some random phone number and it rings and rings. He's like, well, you know what? GSP's not picking up right now. So let me just confirm that and get back to you. But that's my impression, yes, is that he requested me to be on that card.
So legit.
That's right. So that must have been a while ago.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. I'm a massive
Shit.
Chael Sonnen fan. I usually go around saying that he's like one of maybe 3 people I could be starstruck by. Like I've been a fan of his for a while. I specifically remember UFC 117 was his rematch against Anderson Silva, and that was the most nervous I've ever been watching a fight. And I thought he had it, and
oh man,
the performance was solid, and he couldn't pull out the win, and I was heartbroken.
Yeah, man, that was Chael's underrated fighter. He was damn good. He really should have had, he should have been the champion. He was 30 seconds away from being the champion before he gave up the fucking triangle, as always.
Yeah, or even the one that nobody talks about, which is crazy, is his fight against John Jones, where John Jones broke his big toe, and if Chael could have just held on, he would have. I mean, it would have been a cheap win because it would have been, via disqualification or whatever the verbiage would have been. But yeah, it's so crazy. He's got a lot of those kind of finishes.
Yeah, he does. So my only issue with Chael, which is I think where maybe you may be headed with this clip here, is that he he kind of opened the door to the UFC as it is now, which is like way too WWE, too much shit talking and stuff for me. Chael did it like as a bit, it was funny. But now it's just everybody's talking shit, and unlike Chael, they're not funny. They're just talking shit, and I just really am not interested in that. Connor is pretty entertaining too. I can kind of tolerate it when he does it, but even then, it just gets a little old. Connor's not clever like Chael is, so that's my only thing with Chael, is just that people realize, like, oh, if you're just an obnoxious shithead, then you'll get attention, which is, the same thing that happens on YouTube and all these other places. So that part I'm not that excited about, but
Well, I always got the vibe that with Chael, like he would talk shit, but it was in, like you said, it was a very WWE thing. I heard that he became really close friends with Stone Cold Steve Austin, and he started to share contacts with him and step up his kind of theatrical game. But
okay.
Yeah, he he was also the biggest company man ever. He would do his thing, but then he wouldn't say fuck off to the UFC, much like Connor does. Connor challenges the UFC and says, look at my numbers and, come back to me with a better offer because you would be screwed without me. So it's much more adversarial.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's Connor definitely is the one that I wouldn't say ruined the sport for me, but made me like it a lot less.
Right.
For all the reasons you're talking about. But, I can't hate on him for doing it. He made himself rich as fuck off of it.
Yeah. It's
I'm a huge fan.
He's definitely a good fighter, but he's not the best.
Dude, we saw that with Khabib. What do you think about that fight, Finn?
Well, I mean, it's Khabib,
Unbelievable.
There's only one way Connor was going to win that fight, which is, puncher's chance. But I don't think at 155, I don't think he has the power that he did at 45. And even at 45, it's not like he was Anderson Silva just knocking people dead with one shot. He did a little bit, but he won by TKO, not just like walk off KO. And I think that's what you have to do with Khabib, is you got to just like knock him dead with one shot on the way in, because his chain wrestling is just so fucking good. His mat returns and his top pressure, like,
it's a terrifying man.
It's awful. Yeah. Like,
I mean, how do you fucking beat that? After watching that fight, because I root for Connor almost every time he fights. I show up with I'm such a dork. Show up with my fucking Irish flag and I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
And all my buddies are like, all right, James, fucking have fun with that. He's going to get his ass whooped. And he
Well, what
did.
I think Connor could have done differently, and obviously it's easy for me to say as just some guy in his living room here, but
Sure.
I would say Connor didn't look like his best in that fight. In particular, he usually has a lot better footwork. He's a lot better at like controlling the distance and working angles, which I think is really your only shot. And he had some good, I mean, I think it was the third round. Khabib couldn't take him down, and so I think he got the better of that round. So it is possible, but the problem is just like once Khabib gets on top of you, you pretty much have to write that round off. So, you'd have to do that for 3 out of 5 rounds, which is a tough order. But I think,
Real
the
tough.
controlling the distance is where I think he had his best shot, because Khabib, he'll usually shoot that like low single from way outside. That's usually how he starts his chain wrestling that ends in the takedown. So that's if I was his coach, that's what I would ask for. But I'm not his coach, and I'm not qualified to be his coach. So what the fuck do I know?
I know. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Khabib is he's tough. He's a tough challenge. I think that Connor exploited a couple small things, but I remember reading this article, and Connor's coach, his head coach John Kavanaugh, kind of talked about how if he had it to do over again, they would have made Connor's game plan less defensive and more offensive. Because, like you said, he
Yeah.
absolutely his only chance was striking, and
Yep.
if you look at it, he just didn't throw the way that he did with any other opponent, and that's because he was waiting for the takedown. So
Mhm.
much so that Khabib even landed a punch, which everybody wrote off Khabib's striking game. So right there, you're just like, listen, you're so worried about the takedown, you're
Right.
not even the true Connor. And your sentiments about that, I think
Yeah.
everybody agrees with. The entire MMA community is like, that looked like a different Connor.
He wasn't fighting his fight, which is understandable because it's fucking Khabib.
Yeah,
Um,
it's the
but
scariest
yeah,
matchup for him.
I'd be interested in seeing a rematch. Connor doesn't deserve it, but
I
Right.
would
I
too.
would be interested.
Yeah, I'm
You know
surprised
What,
that you'd say that.
what I would like to see is Khabib versus a prime Frankie Edgar. I think Frankie's a little past his prime now, but
That would be
prime Frank,
dope.
that would be the fight because Frankie's so fast, his
What's
wrestling is so goddamn good.
what's the deal with Khabib's visa and all that shit? What's the news on that?
I think that right now there's still the athletic commission is still talking about it. I'm not 100% sure. For me, I want to see. I think that the Frankie Edgar fight would be good. I don't see the UFC giving him that next. He would for sure need to at least win one to get that. Plus, I think.
Yeah, but who would be before him?
Well, I think that if I had to put my money on anybody, I think, and this is crazy to say because they've attempted the fight 5 times, I believe, but Tony Ferguson. I mean,
Oh,
that's the one where
right.
I'm like, yeah, I know you keep trying it, and Tony refuses to not wear sunglasses indoors, so he trips over things and tears his knee apart.
Yeah, he's a goofball, man.
He is. He's
He's
one of the
so
weirdest
good
dudes in the
though.
world, but I
He
love
didn't
it.
he blow out his knee tripping over like a mic cable?
Yeah, he tripped over
that
a
right?
cable
Oh, I
doing
didn't know that.
press for the fight, and
Yeah.
and Dana White said, like, it's because this motherfucker won't not wear sunglasses
And he like
indoors.
destroyed his knee.
Yeah,
Right.
eviscerated it. Needed surgery. Like it.
That was a good fight though.
Yeah, I
That
would
was
like.
fun to watch, man.
I would love to see it. I would love to see.
I am a certified Anthony Pettis hater. So
Yeah, dude.
I'm slowly getting there too. I'm pretty tired with it. The Showtime kick was cool, and then since then it's been kind of whatever.
Yeah.
it's just so frustrating because his game plan is basically so here if I was his coach, I'd be like, okay, Anthony, here's your game plan. If you don't knock him out in the first 30 seconds, just walk backwards for the rest of the fight.
Right. Yeah, that's how it feels.
Okay, coach. I got I got you. No problem.
Yeah, it feels like there became kind of more flashy Showtime shit, and less. I think that you have to mix that with a little bit of that dog fight. You got to be willing to get in there
Yeah.
Right.
and grind it out. But
He got
you
his fucking ass kicked by Dos Anjos, and I think that
Yeah.
probably that's a tough loss for anybody. So I think that probably made it harder for him to pull the trigger.
there was a little improvement with the Ferguson fight, even though he lost. Like I felt
Yeah.
like, okay, this is what everybody wanted. A little more, like even in
Mhm.
that loss, I would be interested in seeing another fight. But like you said, if he comes back like he did against Dos Anjos, then I don't care anymore.
How do you feel about the Cowboy Connor fight? Do you think? Well, A, is that really going to happen?
I've heard absolutely, and I've heard absolutely not.
I know Brendan Schaub's like, oh, it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
I've heard from my sources it's gonna happen.
Well,
So
you know,
we'll see.
Brendan Schaub says a lot of things.
It's
He
true.
says
yeah.
a ton of things.
Yeah. How do you feel about that fight, though, Finn?
From like the perspective of you know, what's going to happen in the octagon.
Yeah.
Or even just as a fan, you know, like, is that something you would be interested in?
Yeah, I would totally like to see it. It's interesting because that's definitely a step down for Connor. You know.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's always fought the best of the best. You know, whether he wins. Well, actually, that's not true. Nate Diaz is not the best of the best. But
Right.
you know, by and large, he has challenged himself to fight like really top level guys that, you know, a lot of people, including me, thought were maybe was like, man, you know, he may have bit off more than he could chew, even with like Eddie Alvarez, and you know, but he came out on top. Aldo, obviously. So you know, Cerrone is like, I'm a huge Cerrone fan, but you know, he's definitely a notch down from those guys. So that is interesting to me. I wonder if Connor will like be able to like get up for it mentally, you know?
Yeah, I agree. And also, a lot of what you said about Pettis, I started to feel that way about Cerrone too. Like his fight, the fight before. Did he fight Elkins? Or no, I'm sorry, not Elkins. Who is the huge dude? He's kind of a newer guy. I'm completely blanking on his name, but I feel
didn't
like
see Cowboys' last fight.
what's that?
I didn't see Cowboys' last fight.
Oh, okay. Well, then that's
I
then
didn't
that's
either.
so he fought Mike Perry, and for
That's
me,
right.
I was kind of on the same train as you with Pettis, where I just didn't feel like Cowboy really had the fire, and I know a lot of people were kind of commiserating about you know, well, he's doing too many other things, and I don't think fighting's really is not his thing. He's into, you know, extreme sports and whatever.
Wakeboarding.
Yeah, and so I was a little worried that we were just gonna kind of see this Cowboy kind of just deteriorate and eventually become unwatchable. And then he just came out with this fire against Mike Perry, who I believe was a little beneath Cowboy in the first place. I think that Cowboy definitely had the advantage, especially in experience. But he came out angry and hungry, and I think that Cowboy versus McGregor would be an incredibly interesting matchup. But any of the previous Cowboys, I'm a little less interested.
See, Cowboy actually has, I would say at 155, has a lot more stopping power than Connor does.
Yes, absolutely.
Cowboy's just knocked out or submitted a lot of people. I don't know what the percentage is, but you know, he has that, he can end a fight at any time in a lot of different ways. So I would give him the advantage over Connor. And I think he's probably the bigger guy. He's definitely taller.
No.
Yeah, well, he's got kicks that Connor needs to watch out for. I mean, not that Connor didn't need to watch out for kicks against, you know, Jose Aldo, but it's, you know, Cerrone just has got in terms of striking, a very well-rounded game.
Yep. I would watch it. Well, guys, I should go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't want to keep the lady waiting too much longer. But thank you very much for having me. Let me know when this goes live, and I'll be sure to share it on my end. And definitely keep in touch. I will let you know if I head down to Portland anytime soon. I'm sure I will.
Yeah, we'll have you in the studio. It's more fun.
You come up here and say hi to Mr. Crummett for me.
I will do. Where can people find you, Finn?
They can find me on YouTube at youtube.com/thepunkrockmba, or they can find me on Instagram at Finn Mckenty, FINNMCKENTY. Or they can find me at the Starbucks in Woodinville, Washington every morning.
There you go. I'm a Starbucks frequenter as well.
Me too.
I used to fight it as I was young. I was like, I don't want to support this corporation. And then as I get older,
support local businesses. I'm a local business guy. So Amazon, Microsoft, Starbucks.
There you go. Yeah, man. That's hilarious. Well, thanks again, man. You're a busy guy. We appreciate your time.
Thanks so much, Finn. That was a blast.
All right.
Talk to you soon.
See you, buddy. Bye. All right. Welcome back to the show. I'd like to thank Finn for being on. What a rad guy.
Yeah.
Jeez Louise.
We lucked out.
I know, man. What were you saying, that he was your favorite?
Yeah, he's my favorite guest that we've had since I started the podcast.
Hilarious dad joke.
Yeah, that's good stuff, right?
That's pretty good.
For those that aren't catching on, he's the first one we've had.
Yeah, he's the first. Yeah, he's the first fucking guest.
Yeah. I feel like, I mean, if it's
with you,
I tried to tell you, man.
Stateside Podcast B.
It's since you got me, it's gonna be Baller, and he's example numero uno.
Yeah, man. What a rad guy. Like, just a worker bee. Hustler.
Yeah, sick dude.
Take notes, children. Look at what people like Finn are doing.
Yeah, he just follows his heart. That's really all he does.
Sincere, and it's so rare to see a 40-year-old guy take the love and passion of things that, he loved as a kid, as a teenager, and, condense that into a diamond.
Yeah.
A diamond of ideas for something he can do as an adult and make money off it.
Yeah, it's like a 25-year-long
rad.
diamond. Like he's just
No.
or longer than that probably. I don't even know.
Yeah, and I dig his style. The whole take ownership of your own responsibility in this thing. It's up to you. It's up to you to make things happen. And that's good news. It's no one else's fault but yours.
And then on top of that, he's an MMA fan.
He's an MMA fan.
That tickled me. That was great.
We got along swimmingly.
Jeez.
Go support that guy's YouTube channel, the Punk Rock MBA. That's Mary Boy Alpha. What is MBA? Is that a bachelor's degree? Is that what that means?
I think so, yeah.
I'm dumb.
Yep. I think that's what it is.
I think
For the
so.
longest time, I thought it was NBA. And then I was like,
too.
what does that mean? Punk
I
rock
thought it was just
MBA.
BA.
Right. Yeah, I don't know.
No, we're pretty stupid.
We maybe should have asked him that. That might have been-
Probably. Dude, that fucking old lady
Yeah.
thing here is super creepy.
I like that we decided to have it face us.
Yeah, for the listeners, I have a Halloween decoration thing of some creepy old lady that's clearly balding.
Yeah.
And she's like a maid, I guess.
She looks a little bit like Stanley Tucci. Do you know who that is? She's like Stanley Tucci. She's got raccoon eyes
I'm
though.
gonna look that up.
It's so good.
Man.
You're gonna lose it, man. First photo
Stanley
that comes up,
Tucci.
you're gonna be like, Alan
Fucking-
nailed it. Look at that. That's Stanley
my
Tucci,
God, this is blowing my mind.
dude.
For those who are listening, look up Stanley Tucci, and you'll know what we're looking at right now. Stanley Tucci, old lady. Stanley Tucci.
All day. I mean, uncanny.
We need a pair of glasses on her. Oh boy, that's
Sketchy.
fucking hilarious.
And I like that her tray is empty. It's supposed to like serve kids Halloween candy, and it's just
Nothing.
yeah, it's Stanley Tucci with a skullet and no candy,
Yeah, that's right.
and staring right at you.
So creepy. I think it moves. I think it's out of batteries, but when you touch it to take candy
Yeah.
off, it yells at you. And
I can see that. Yeah, yeah.
The
That's
eyes light up and
perfect.
shit. Let's do a little current events, Alan Ashcraft.
Cool.
By the way, motherfuckers, it's Ashcraft, not Ashcroft.
Has anybody said Ashcroft?
I've heard it a few times already. I'm not gonna
Me
lie.
too.
I'm sure you've heard it a lot
Yeah.
in your life. This just in, not really just in, but this is a new thing that's going on. Spotify is basically trying to become a record label. Have you heard about this?
I actually haven't.
It's crazy. It's like kind of a monumental shift in what's happening these days. So Spotify is signing original artists. They're acting exactly like a label. They'll give you money to go make a record, and they'll put it direct out on Spotify.
I mean, they got
How
the
about
money.
that?
Yeah, they have the money to do it.
Yeah. The company is offering artists a best-in-class cut of their streaming royalties, but its program is a work in progress. One of their first signings was via Mia Coleman, a American Idol lady,
Okay.
I guess. Something like
She's
that.
17.
I've never heard of her. But yeah, this is Spotify's plan to reshape the music business and its image. For decades, artists have relied on record labels to help them get airtime on radio and TV stations to sell albums. And then it goes on to say the year's 10 best-selling albums were all released or distributed by a major label. But now that streaming accounts for 75% of the U.S. market. Wow. And the world's largest, Spotify, is betting that can change. I would have think that'd be more by now.
So does it say who else they've signed?
Not that I see. I heard about it a couple months ago. So
Haitian DJ
yeah,
Michael Brunn.
see all these people I don't know. Like, why
Yeah.
would they sign people that no one knows about?
You know, it's funny. We haven't heard about them, but I bet if we went to their Spotify pages, they have like 10 million streams per song.
Yeah,
There's
right.
a lot of that. I just found out about. Oh man, I'm gonna slaughter the name. I think it's. I know first name's Billy, then I think it's Eilish. Uh, and she's massive. She's 16 years old.
And it blows my mind. These
I
people
just.
that I have no idea who they are, and they're huge.
It's so hard to. Yeah, I think it's Eilish. She just released a song, but I mean, her streams are unreal. She's got one with Khalid, who I'm a huge fan of. 269 million streams.
And
She's
that's an insane number.
She's monstrous. She writes a lot. Her brother writes a ton of songs. He's a producer himself, and she teams up with him, and it's just like really like haunting vocals, and she's unreal talented. She also seems at least 10 years older than what she is, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's all over the place. Really hard to keep up.
It's nuts. This article goes on to say too, kind of interesting. Of course, the direct upload plan isn't altruistic. Spotify, which is on track to lose more than 170 million this year, pays out more than 70% of its monthly sales to right holders. The direct upload system ups Spotify's take even as it delivers 50% to the artists, which typically get more like 15% to 20% under their old system. Jeez Louise. They're like in the hole. Spotify's not making any money.
Yeah, which is
I
crazy because
wonder.
you always see, like, at least my Twitter feed is just full of like
I know it's
band dudes that I follow that they take a picture of their royalty statement, and it's
and
like
like
1
we're on a
cent.
Spotify playlist. That's such a huge deal now.
Yeah,
So that's a little music news for you.
sick.
Did you hear about I always think of how Chris D'Elia pronounces his name.
Oh,
66669.
he does it multiple. Yeah, so it's Tenkashi 69, but he'll say like Blin Blashi 72.
She's
And
72.
yeah,
It always refers to it as her.
yeah.
How would I even type his name? Sick like that?
Just do like you could.
How do you pronounce his name?
I think is it Tenkashi 69?
Fuck. Well, but it's 6IX9INE.
It's tough, dude. Like part of me is like I should know this, and the other part of me is like, why, dude?
Yeah,
He's
why?
in prison. Who gives a fuck? Like he hasn't been important to me since he's been a thing. I don't know.
Brooklyn rapper 672 arrested on racketeering charges.
Cool. Racketeering. Another word that I don't know the definition. What does that mean?
No, yeah, it's not the 30s. I don't know what that means.
Yeah, it's tough.
I don't know what this is. But apparently he's going to prison, sounds like.
Yeah. That's cool.
He's participated in multiple acts of violence over the past 8 months.
Oh, really?
Cool.
As a surprise.
Oh, the picture of him wouldn't tell me that at all by his rainbow dyed hair. Look at that asshole.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
I have a friend who's positive that this
tough to
guy's
look at.
he's just trolling. Like this isn't him. And for me, I could kind of see that, It's 2018. This is how we do it. But also, like, what a fucking commitment.
I know.
Like I like trolling just as much as the next guy, but
I just like thinking of him going to prison. He's going to get his ass pounded. Pounded.
Yeah. Oh,
Look at that guy. He's a fresh piece of meat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's a little tart.
He is. God damn.
Imagine being a giant, like 7 foot big old bro in prison. You haven't had any tang for a year. This guy's gonna get it.
He coming in there with his rainbow hair, and that's a lot of color.
Simply too much color.
Yeah.
I don't get it. His music sucks. Right? Am I wrong?
No, it does. It does. For sure.
Clearly.
I mean, this is how you merge a couple subjects. He's got a song called Gucci Gang, and then our buddy Pete Davidson from the last episode, he parodied that with Tucci Gang, all about Stanley Tucci.
No way! What's the fucking chance?
Look at me merging shit, dude.
Dude, that's
fucking
amazing.
natural. Yeah, you could SNL and then Tucci Gang, and it's him and
Okay,
It's him and Sam Rockwell. Sam Rockwell plays Stanley Tucci. They couldn't get him. They couldn't get him there, but Sam Rockwell.
Oh, is he the Gucci Gang, Gucci Gang, Gucci
Yep,
Gang? That
yeah.
guy?
Yep.
Just an awful song.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's.
Oh, I thought that was Lil Pump. That's a different guy.
You know what?
You know what? They look very similar.
It's all the same to me.
To be fair,
Yeah.
they look.
They're all.
I mean,
here's the problem. They're all trash.
They're all garbage
Yeah.
with hyper color hair.
Let's go with it. Let's just say that was still him. Just refuse to put in anything other than Tekashi 6ix9ine, Gucci Gang.
Oh, that's so good.
God, dude, that's how much I care. I don't know.
Okay, let's listen to one of Tekashi 6ix9ine.
I'm actually kind of not mad at this. The gunshots are whatever.
We're gonna get taken off YouTube for this, huh?
This is the most thug reason to get taken off YouTube, though.
Okay, let's fast forward a little bit. Not a fan. I like.
There's no way that's his voice.
No.
There's no way.
No, he's a tiny person.
I know my voice is deeper than his, so that's not real. Look at his face. That
Dude,
guy
look
does
how
it.
many views that has. What is that number?
What are we at? I can't even read that.
That is 308,470,924 views.
A lot of dumbasses out there, man.
It's a lot of numbers. Yeah, a lot of dumbos out there for sure. Ugh. Tekashi 6ix9ine.
Temblashi 84.
84.
So good.
So fucking good.
Whatever.
All right, well, fuck that guy. Moving on. Have you seen the guy that got arrested and his mugshot is going viral with the wide neck?
Oh, the
wide
neck
dude?
guy? Yeah, dude.
I heard this on The Fighter and the Kid.
Titan neck.
I mean, it's unreal. Okay.
I saw an article where he was like, yo, thank you, internet. I'm getting more ass than I've ever gotten in my life.
Is that right?
Yeah, and that made me so happy for some reason. Oh. You know what I...
YCC, the whole team, the whole city. Free man. Big brother, man, fly high.
Look how big his neck is.
Shout out
They'll
to
show it a
every
little bit
female that
more.
Gave me a chance, you feel me?
Yeah, we gotta
I'm trying to
talk
fuck
about
it
this.
up.
Like, what?
That's
But hell, it is what it is. Shout out to you.
that's more than just being a buff dude. His neck is like as big as almost as big as my shoulders,
Yeah.
It's
width-wise.
like the first time I ever commented on some shit that
What
nigga had.
is
There's
that
just
neck?
So many of y'all, I can't fade all of y'all. So here,
It's gotta be genetic, which is so
Ugh.
impressive.
I'm in the city.
All the comments are so fucking.
That's
Yeah,
like bigger
they
than
know,
like the
man.
dude from Cannibal Corpse.
Keep
He's got a
telling
big
you,
ass
man.
neck, but
They went to the Fed, 21
That's
years,
even
man.
bigger.
Free that man. I
Yeah.
just left him.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Shout out to Ashley Butler.
What was this one called?
haven't understood
Yeah.
one word he
Yeah.
said.
Not one single word.
I've heard of the heart of the streets, but you the neck of
Huh?
Yeah.
I heard neck.
Man with
You got a big ass neck. Project those words. What are you doing?
yeah.
I saw a meme that was like, this motherfucker looks like he could swallow peanut butter.
Yeah, all the comments are
Straight
so
drink it.
goddamn funny.
Like, where are we at where, like,
I think this man was neglected as a child.
like this is news. Like, this is huge.
Yeah.
We've seen this video so many times. We've seen
Yeah.
this dude is a meme.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
this is where we're at.
I think it's just that things are so fucking bizarre now
Yeah.
that like this is a change of it's like a dessert.
Yeah, it's kind of like, all of California's on fire. That's really
exactly.
dark. And then it's like, yeah, no, true, that sucks. Do you see that dude with the big ass neck?
You see that dude with the big ass neck? That's
That was
crazy, right?
crazy. Yeah, it's
Kamplashi 854 is going to prison.
Yeah.
Did you see this F3, Formula 3
No.
racing?
Oh, yeah.
It's brutal.
Yeah, you know what's crazy but not really? Female driver.
Yeah.
It was a female driver.
Yeah, it's like a hot female driver.
I mean, as
She's-
if the stereotype isn't strong enough. Like, you have a responsibility
Yeah.
as a female driver. Like, you got to maybe not rocket through a parking garage or whatever that was that she smashed
Absolutely.
through.
It's what was her name? Sophia.
She's 17. I know that.
Oh, that's right. She's only 17?
Yeah.
No.
She needs to calm down. Whoever gave her the keys to a Formula One race car needs to calm down.
Yeah, that's right. Watch this.
And how does she catch air?
Dude, it's crazy how high she goes.
Is there a ramp only for her?
It looks like it. Oh, I think she hits this car or something.
It's the same colours. It's one of the same team. But we don't think it is. Another crash at Lisbon.
Everyone else is slowing down and taking the corner with caution.
Safety car this time because they will clear that up in time.
This guy's voice is so
goes
funny.
on and no,
Life
wait
goes
a minute. There's another car gone.
Oh, wait, did she already crash?
That we are going to stop safety here because of the fence.
They'll show it.
She touched Deruvala's car.
Okay, so she hit a car and then that started to spin out. These are the consequences, it says.
Like that somebody turned this one incident into a Tarantino video.
I know.
Just show us the clip.
Yeah, no shit. Oh!
Come on.
Fuck me. Look how high that is.
Come on.
I mean, that's like close to almost 3 stories. Like that's 2 stories.
She caught air.
Oh my god. And apparently she's okay. She's like a fractured spine, but she's not dead. Somehow.
I mean, that's awesome. I don't want her to die, but
Oh, look at how did she not hit everyone there? All these angles. Oh,
that's what it is. Another car was a ramp.
brutal. Oh,
See, that's
boy.
that's the downside of you text your boyfriend for the 6th time. I don't know. What do you want to eat? And then boom, you're in the middle of a parking garage, just jammed up in it,
jammed up.
and somehow
Fuck,
not
man.
dead. That's awesome.
Yep.
17. You're googling Japanese man marries house.
Japanese man marries house.
Did he really marry a house?
No, he marries.
Hologram.
Yeah,
That's so much more Japanese.
yeah. This is fucking
$18,000 wedding
nuts.
ceremony.
Japanese man marries
Get
computer-generated
outta
hologram in $18,000 wedding ceremony. A 35-year-old man in Japan married a computer-generated singing software that resembles a 16-year-old anime pop star. That's tough. Named Hatsune Miku in a $18,000 wedding ceremony with nearly 40 guests.
40 people showed up for that shit. Yeah, dude, I'll support it. What time?
God. They said the mom wouldn't show up.
Well, yeah, no shit.
Clearly. Is this the wedding?
Their wedding. His bride is Hatsune Miku.
That's
the
it?
virtual reality star in Japan with thousands of loyal fans.
Oh, that's it?
She was developed as a computer-generated singing software that resembles a 16-year-old
Dude, this is like the
anime
movie
pop
Her.
star. Her creator,
Yeah.
Did you see that movie?
Yeah, I
Media,
loved it.
declined to
This
comment
is so
when
creepy.
approached by Reuters. They
I mean, this is
declared
where
their
we're
love
headed.
for each other in front of nearly
Yeah.
40 wedding
I mean,
guests
I'm
this
not.
month in an $18,000
I'm not headed that way. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I don't mean we, like me and you, but the world. Look at that.
Yeah, cool. There's your beautiful wife.
So there's your wife. You get to not fuck.
She's the size of a remote control. That's the thing.
And
She's tiny and she's not real.
Nah, not real.
Oh, and he is in love. That's so
Dude,
creepy.
that is such a bummer.
Oh, she's buffering right now. He was trying to talk to her. He was trying to talk to her, but her image was buffering.
That's so
Fuck
impressive.
him. Fuck her.
Yeah, fuck 'em all. Asshole.
Oh, she's sipping fake wine. Oh, he's drinking with her.
Oh, cute.
Just firebomb just that whole thing.
Yeah.
Kondo says some people
Ugh.
accuse him of being a creepy otaku.
Yeah,
which
very
means
And
creepy.
why is it a
Kondo says he
16-year-old?
live an antisocial
Yeah, that is
life.
interesting.
Others
Like,
have
he
accused him of
chose that.
contributing to Japan's declining population, while some
Oh,
have
yeah,
accused
you
him
hear
of
what she was
being
saying?
fair
Japan's
to staff.
declining population.
Japan, so they have like
Kondo,
a problem with, like, most people are single in Japan right now. It said something about the percentage of people that are single.
Well, it's probably hard as a woman to find a man when they're looking for software to marry.
Yeah, apparently everyone, most people in Japan are focused on like careers and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, people aren't giving birth to kids and stuff. So it says, in sexless Japan, almost half of single young men and women are virgins. Half. Yeah, a survey of Japanese people aged 18 to 34 found that almost 70% of unmarried men and 60% of unmarried women are not in a relationship. That's pretty crazy.
That's a lot.
Moreover, many of them have never got close or cuddly. Around 42% of the men and 44.2% of the women admitted they were virgins.
Of what age? What age bracket was that?
18 to 34. 34 is simply too old to not have had sex or even your dick touched.
Dude, so I used to be a security guard at a community college.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And there were these it was a sick job, but towards the end of my employment there were these two I just imagine them listening to this, which what are the odds, but I fucking hope they do at the same time. This pair of twins, two male twins, they were quite portly, they were overweight and redhead, and they would talk to me all the time about how going to Japan was it was awesome for them. They would go over there for a small period of time. They would be English teachers. And all they would talk about, though, wasn't their time as English teachers or what the students were like or the culture, but just how they, walking down the street, they were anomalies. They visually looked very odd because they were incredibly white, fat, redhead American males. And then just the amount of ass that they would pull in as those anomalies. And they loved it. They were just like, they're just serial killers about it. They were like, oh, we can get so many. That's what they would say. We could get so many. And I felt like they stopped themselves before the words victims. And they would tell me this shit on my lunch break, and I'm like, cool, dude.
Guys.
Real creepy. Ugh. Just so bizarre. So every time I hear about Japan, I just think about those two.
That's gross.
Yeah.
I feel weird now.
I kind of wonder what they're doing. They're probably in Japan right now.
Probably in Japan, getting victims.
They're software developers.
I know, it's always weird, right? When you see, like, I used to work with this guy. He was middle-aged at best. He was probably even older, like 60 or older or something. And he was as gross of a person as you can imagine. White, like, clammy guy, balding.
Yeah, I know what you mean. These guys were too, yeah.
Just super, super gross. And he had a very, very young, like, Filipino wife.
Yeah.
Or something. It was like, she obviously married him to get a visa situation.
Yeah.
And he'd always show us pictures of it and stuff, and just like, oh, that poor girl. She was like 20, dude. And he had like 3 sets of kids from 3 separate wives. Just a real dirtbag.
I mean, maybe she's got a thing for middle-aged, creepy, weird-smelling.
I just hope she got a visa, divorced his ass, and got half his shit.
Yeah. I just watched a documentary about guys that they go to Thailand and they like hook up. Like they go to a spa where only women looking for those types of men go. And
what
then,
do you mean? Like, oh yeah, like rich, sugar daddies or whatever.
So yeah, essentially.
Yeah.
Which to be rich over there, you need like a $40,000 a year job. Like you don't have to. You're Donald Trump over there if you have that. And they would just fall in love. It was just such a. I was kind of enamored with the lack of maturity and shit on their end. Like they were mature enough to be adults and go out and get jobs and be successful and develop a checking account and a savings account and build their income. But then when it came to a woman, they were just so like giggly and just kind of like, I have money. Do you love me? Oh. And the woman would be like, yeah, of course, because I need to survive. I love you. And then shit would fall apart inevitably because there's not a real connection there. And the guys would be like legit heartbroken. They didn't see that shit coming. And I was just fascinated by that. Like there's those people out there all the time. There's a guy right now, as you and I are talking, that is scouring the internet for some woman that doesn't know enough about him to not be attracted to him.
Right.
And just knows that he makes a little money. And she's like, yeah, cool. I'll come to America and pretend to love you for 6 months or however long I need to bail. And it's weird.
It is really weird. Yeah, there's I think we were talking about Vice earlier. I'm pretty sure they did a piece on sugar daddies and sugar mommies. It was mostly young women going to rich men, and that was it. Like that was
Mhm.
the deal. I mean, it was out in the open,
Yeah.
and they're not technically prostitutes,
Right.
but the men shower them with gifts, pay for like their college tuition, buy them a car, cover their rent. You know, I got it covered, baby.
Yeah.
As long as they suck that D and date them and hang out with them. But there's no like agreed. So technically, it's not illegal.
Right.
They can just go date them, and like these women, they're like some of them are going to law school, like they want to be doctors, and they're just
It's
very
tough
open
too
about
because
it.
it's like you kind of respect the hustle, I guess.
A little bit, yeah. They're like
Yeah.
they're 10 out of 10 smoke show women
Yeah.
who they're just very honest about it. Like, yeah, look, I mean, I get along with Steve, but you know, we're not going to be together forever. He adores me and I adore him, and you know, he takes care of me. He.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's fucking weird, man.
It
Really
is.
bizarre.
I'm real big on people just kind of playing the cards that they're dealt,
Sure.
and sometimes that hand looks like, you know, you're a 10, but you grow up in an area where you have no resources
I guess.
other than your
something,
looks.
Yeah.
So you go somewhere where other people have resources to pay for your time,
And
and
it's your body, it's your life.
yeah,
I'm very libertarian on that kind of stuff.
there's
Like,
got to be consequences to the whole thing, but they, you know,
but that's their fault.
yeah,
That's
right,
their,
and that happens to them.
their
and
life.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy. It's crazy to think
know.
about. I could never do that. I would just constantly be like, "You're just here for the money," because they are.
Because they are.
But I think that the opposite, the difference rather of me and those dudes is that I'm constantly calling them out for what it is, whereas a lot of those guys are kind of turning a blind eye. They're
Right.
doing the opposite. They're convincing themselves that those women are super into it, which, you know, whatever you got to do, I guess. I don't know.
Did you hear about this? Michael Bloomberg, the former mayor of New York City, he donates a record $1.8 billion to Johns Hopkins University.
I did hear about this. I didn't dive into it at all, but
Isn't that nuts?
that's a fair amount of money.
Fair amount. Entrepreneur and former New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg said he donated a record I just said that because students denied entry to college due to finances, quote, undermines equal opportunity. That's pretty fucking cool. I mean, Jesus,
Yeah.
that's record. I mean, it is his what's it called? Alma mater.
Oh, alma mater. Yeah.
Alma mater.
Yeah.
This will make admissions at Hopkins forever need blind finances will never again factor into decisions, wrote Bloomberg. Crazy.
How about college
Lot
is
of
just a
money.
scam? Like,
Mhm.
it's so. I have so many friends
know.
that are like, I got 80,000 in debt. I'm like, for what?
For what?
What did you get out of that?
For what? I know.
It's so nuts.
Meanwhile, they could have just worked and like gotten experience and you know, be
And
an
I'm-
intern or I don't know.
Yeah, and I'm not calling those people stupid, man.
No,
I
of course not.
I drank that Kool-Aid too,
They're just
where I was
fucking
like,
idiots.
there was a long time where, before I worked at Rise, I tell my friends all the time when this shit comes up, like, I couldn't get design jobs that I didn't want. I remember applying at like trucking companies and
Mhm.
shit and like all kinds of shit, and I'm just like, I don't even want this job and I can't get it.
Right.
And I put a lot of that on the fact that I didn't have a college degree, but
Yeah.
I just,
It's definitely mattering less and less.
yeah,
There definitely was a time not all that long ago where it really did matter.
yeah,
But we're quickly approaching a time where that, you know, and most employers I know or people who are hiring people, that doesn't, especially in what the fuck we're doing.
yeah,
Finn talked about that in one of his videos, how, you know, like if you want to work as a recording engineer, for example, or music producer or whatever it is, yeah, you can go to audio school. Like a lot of those guys do that. You know, I'd say half of the producers I know went to some sort of trade school to learn like 101 engineering or whatever. That's fine, and I'm sure it's, you know, and you ask them, but most of them will say like, yeah, but that had nothing to do with me getting a job, like
Mhm.
at all. It had nothing to do with me being a good producer,
right, yeah,
at all. So I don't know. It just depends on what you want to do. Like if you want to be a lawyer or a doctor or that kind of thing, then yeah, you have to go to school. Like that's just the deal. But if you want to do anything outside of that, like Yeah, I don't know, man. That's a lot of debt to start your life out with.
Yeah, that is an interesting point. Like a lot of creative shit, you can just go to what's commonly referred to as YouTube University.
Yeah, exactly.
But you don't see that with, nor would you want to, I guess, see that with, like surgeons.
No.
Like, how pumped would you be if your surgeon
No.
was like, dude, it's all going to be fine. I
I've watched-
YouTubed it earlier.
Jesus Christ.
I'm good to go.
Yeah.
It's fresh. I know what's up. That's a thing where you're just like, no, man, I need you to have gone to Harvard
For
or
700
Yale.
years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. But then it's like, dude, I'm gonna make a T-shirt design for your band. I fucking, I did some stuff for Limp Bizkit once, and you're just like, oh, dude.
Oh, cool. Sounds great.
Yeah, that's like if you went to Harvard. Perfect.
Yeah, I mean, if you take a kid that went to school, it has a 4-year degree in what would that degree be? Does some sort of design degree? I mean, that does that
Yeah,
even
like
exist?
what the shit was it when it was just like applied arts, I think.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, which isn't even that.
who's gonna
doesn't-
hire who? The kid that's been busting his ass,
Yeah.
working with a bunch of artists and growing your portfolio, or this kid right out of school?
Well, I've talked to creative directors too. There's certain creative
matter.
directors that are like, listen, if I'm hiring somebody, sometimes I don't want the guy that's gone to college for 4 years and been told by a college how I want them to behave and how I want them to think and how I want them to act when they finally get to my agency.
Right.
Sometimes a really hungry 18-year-old that wants this job more than the 24-year-old with a degree, they're the better choice because they're just a little more pliable.
Right. Absolutely.
So in a weird way, you can't fucking win if you try. I went to
Okay.
college. I spent 80,000. Yeah, cool. We don't want you. You're
Yeah, cool.
too conditioned by that college. Oh, okay, cool. I'll go fuck myself. And then some other kid is like, hey, I spent no money. What's up? And they're like, yeah, we need you to have a degree though. Like no money. That means you don't really want this job. And so it's like that's why it really, like I said with Finn earlier, it was just it was me being right place, right time for a lot of the shit that I got.
Yep.
And I would argue that networking in so many situations
Oh, it's
is more
huge.
important than education.
Yep.
You need them both, obviously.
I think it's just a delicate balance. Like
Yeah.
you were in the right place at the right time, but you also took advantage of that time and place.
Yeah,
know,
well,
when the
because you can be
opportunity's
right
given
place,
to
right
you.
time for a small period of time.
For a small period of time.
You can get there and not fucking work out, and then they're like, all right, bye. You
Yep.
were right place, right time to get the opportunity.
See ya.
And then you shit all over that opportunity by not knowing what you're doing.
Yeah.
So for me, I was well prepared. I had been a freelancer for a decade by the time I got that job. So I came in like supremely confident to where I felt above that place. I remember my first gig was making all the band logos from a PNG to a vector file, and it was like,
Got this.
I'll do it, but I mean, let me design something. Like
If
this
you
is
want to pay me to do that, fine.
yeah, you're starting me too small, but I get that they were just kind of feeling me out, and then
Right.
I just said I'll stay quiet, do my thing, and then I'll build up, and then eventually I did, and everything was all good. But I think that's the key is just knowing how to kind of bide your time and act accordingly.
A hard turn because you know how I like to be random.
Let's do
We're
it.
both ADD boys here. Have you ever seen this YouTube video called Jessica's Daily Affirmation?
Oh yeah, is this where she's like, I'm so beautiful and
Yeah,
I'm great and
I can
everybody
do
likes me?
anything.
Yo, this is the shit. I love that you pulled this up. This is old as fuck too. This
It's
isn't
super old. This
it's
is
not
like
even new.
old YouTube.
Yeah.
Something I don't know what happened the other day, but I thought of this video and I watched it. Dude, there's nothing better than this fucking video.
This
It gets me
video's
pumped
great.
Every time I watch it, there's nothing I can't
She like sort of
accomplish.
runs out of shit to yell at herself in the mirror and
Yeah.
just kind of pulls
Yeah.
shit out of thin air and
She's super, super cute. It's the best video ever. Jessica's Daily Affirmation.
Look, I can be a shark. Now, my whole house is great. I can do anything good.
I can do
I like
anything.
my school. I like anything. I like my dad. I like my cousins. I like my aunts. I like my Allisons. I like my mom. I like my sisters. I like my dad. I like my hair. I like my hair. I like my haircuts. I like my pajamas. I like my stuff. I like my rooms. I like my whole house.
She claps.
My whole house is great. I can do anything good. Yeah. I can do anything good.
My hero.
Everyone.
Oh,
Everyone.
this, what, 6-year-old kid,
So
whatever she
good.
is? She's my fucking hero, man. I can do anything good. Clap, clap,
So
stomp,
good.
stomp.
Yeah.
It's the best.
Yeah,
We could all
it's.
learn a lot from her.
I mean, as a 32-year-old, I'm like, at what point does life show her that she's wrong? But
Of course.
it's super
coming.
sweet.
Super adorable.
I think that's what we love about it is, oh, I remember when I used to be that positive about shit. I remember
That's
when
dark.
life hadn't completely pissed on the top of my head.
Yeah, that's very true.
But I mean, that's what we love about kids is that
It is.
in a sick
Absolutely.
way, they haven't learned that shit
No.
sucks.
Do you
And
remember
that they
hope you
can't
used
do
to have?
anything good.
Remember hope?
Yeah,
hope?
dude. I mean,
Remember that?
vaguely.
Yeah.
Vaguely.
I had a lot of hope when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I thought so, like, I don't know. I just thought that I was going to do the best things ever. And, like, you know, the future was so exciting.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
I used it. My mom used to do this thing. I can't even believe I'm about
This
to
just
share
got
this
so
shit on
dark.
this. This is because I'm my third beer in, and then I'm going to share this right now. But my mom used to do this thing. This is why I'm the monster that I am. That's what my friends would tell you. This is why you're a cocky piece of shit. But my mom used to tell me to come over. I'd be like 3. She's like, "Come sit on my lap," and I'd sit on her lap, and she would just take my hands and she'd go, "These are the hands of a rocket scientist, or maybe a doctor." And she would just like,
my mom was the same
she
way.
would just tell me like,
There's
or
nothing you can't do.
or you maybe you are the maestro of the world's biggest and most successful symphony. And I didn't realize she was Tony Robbinsing the shit out of me at the time, like just going full Oprah.
And you're like, yeah.
I carry that with me now. So like
I do
somebody
too.
doesn't agree with me, and I'm like, bro, look
you
at
don't
my
understand.
hands.
Look at my hands. My mom
These are the
told-
hands of a fucking doctor, and you're gonna tell me I'm wrong right now? Like, in a weird way, it's kind of been a very negative thing, and
I know it is. I agree with you.
I mean, it's ruined every
It's ruined
relationship I've
everything
ever.
for me.
Yeah,
No one will live up to my mom's
it's
love
bad news.
ever.
I tell my mom all the time, like, thank you, but also fuck you,
Yeah,
because
my wife
I can't live a goddamn life.
can never live up to you.
Yeah.
Not in a million years.
Mm-hmm.
And Ashley knows that.
Yeah.
She knows.
God, I know. It's tough. And the thing is, you know, as the person,
That's the worst part.
yeah, you find out, okay, it was a little bit bullshit, but what
Yeah.
was the message? The message is that I'm a good guy, like I'm capable of things. So you try, but it's tough. If you're a realist, you're just like, Jesus, I'm actually I'm a piece of shit, and I'm fallible like any other human being.
Yeah.
But you try not to steer the boat too hard, like into just complete fucking depression and
No, but the truth is, like, we were talking about the Defiant ones last episode.
Yeah.
Jimmy Iovine and Dr. Dre. One of the things Jimmy Iovine always talks about, and it's a quote in the show, he talks about using that fear is a very powerful tool.
yes,
And that using fear as a headwind instead of a tailwind is super powerful.
yeah. What's funny is that's actually the line that I connected with the most as
Yeah.
well.
It's huge for me because it's like doing the show. I get a little nervous every time we do it.
Yeah.
Every single time. And I have to take a moment to step out in the hallway or I go to the bathroom and I do my Jessica's daily affirmation in the mirror.
Yep.
I can do this. I can do anything good. And I
Yep.
slap.
I love my hair.
clap,
I love
I
my
love my hair.
penis.
I love James. I love my stomach. And I love how fat I am. And I love I'm 35. And then I go in and I kill it. No, but in all seriousness, that is a very powerful tool. Like I'm here just like everyone else is. I have every right to be here. My father-in-law once said something to me he's like a Louisiana good old boy.
Oh, nice.
He basically
Shoots it straight.
he literally shoots. Like he's a
Oh,
big
okay.
gun guy. He's got a shotgun slug in his foot still from when he was a kid. He basically had to raise himself and his 2 brothers from the time he was 14 in the Louisiana
Yeah, it's
swamps.
real.
Like
That's-
real hard life. And when I was thinking about starting Stateside, I'm like, yeah, I was thinking this idea for a company, and I don't know, it just feels so silly. Like, who the fuck am I? What am I even talking about? Like, starting a company? I'm just some jack off. And he looked at me, he's like, well, James, what are companies? I'm like, what do you mean, Don? He's like, well, companies are made up of people, right? I go, yeah. He's like, well, you're a person, aren't you? I go, yeah. He's like, okay, then you can do it too. Like, he just made it so simple. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's just there's no actual difference.
It's
Skill
true.
and natural ability, all that comes into factor, sure. But we all have just as much of a right to be here, a right to try the things that we think are outside our. You know what I'm saying? Like,
100%. I was watching an interview
know.
today with the fucking. I am so bad with names tonight, but the guy
It's
that
called podcast brain.
God
It
damn, dude.
happens.
That's also 3 beers in. Dude that started Facebook. What was his name? Mark something?
Mark Zuckerberg.
Zuckerberg, yeah. Super common last name. Don't know how I couldn't remember that.
Real common.
But I was watching an interview with him, and I was like, dude, he sucks a little bit, like at talking, and like
Yeah.
he also. I saw a meme that is the most fucking. Typically, memes are just so down the middle, and like you've heard it before.
Yeah.
But this was the most on point, specific, unique meme. It said Mark Zuckerberg looks like every character in a zombie movie who has been bitten, but he's trying to hide it from the crew. And when you look at him, he's pale as shit, and he looks nervous. Like someone's going, bro, were you bitten? And he's like, no, dude, I'm good. And he's sweating and shaky. Anyway, I'm watching him talk. I was like, he looks like shit. He's not a very good speaker. He seems nervous all the time, but he's a goddamn billionaire. Like he is. All those qualities I just listed are somebody that shouldn't be successful, but he is, because he said fuck it and just went for it. Yeah, there it is.
Mark Zuckerberg always looks like the guy in a zombie movie who's been bitten but is trying to keep it a secret from everyone.
Yeah. His head is
Especially that
swelling a
picture.
little bit.
Yeah.
He's pale as fuck.
Dude, that is unbelievably
It's
funny.
one of my favorite memes I've ever seen, where I'm just like, that is sharp.
So accurate.
Yeah. But I mean, to
Anyway.
your point, it's like it's so easy for us to be like, I'm just Alan. I'm just James. Like, no one wants to hear my shit. Listen, Mark Zuckerberg, so many people don't want to fucking hear from him.
Not a
But
soul.
he said, people need to hear from me. And then it just fucking worked out. Like, and that's how I feel about what you're doing and everything I've done, where it's like, yeah, maybe not, but let's go for it. Like, who
Just-
cares?
Exactly. This kid is just some dork. And
And it only worked out because he gave it a shot.
because he gave it a shot.
Like,
Right
that
place,
meme
right
right there
time.
wouldn't exist if he had the same thought that you had about Stateside, where you're just like,
I know. And it's a bummer because you think of like all the potential people have and all the times people don't do something.
yeah,
Like all the things that we don't know even exist. The equivalent to Facebook that could have been,
yeah.
you know? 'Cause
All the
some-
people whose moms didn't set them on their laps and turn them into fucking serial killers. Like, that's heartbreaking. Luckily, our moms did.
Yeah, luckily they did because I can do anything I
Yeah.
want, Alan. I
Alan,
am
you could easily
completely capable.
dismember any young, beautiful brunette girl
No
and
one
hide
will
her
know.
body. No one would know.
You're so
too
smart.
charming. Police would question you, and
Oh,
you
yeah.
would charm them right out of their socks.
Yeah, my mom would say things like, I mean, like we were talking about like Paul McCartney's. I mean, she really thought I was the equivalent to that. Like I could just do
Yeah.
anything I wanted.
Yeah. Well,
And-
dude, that's where it all starts. Somebody told Mark the same thing, and he fucking started Facebook.
Gary,
like-
we were talking about Gary Vee, but he talks about all the time that his mom was the same way. that
Yeah.
he had this upbringing of just like, you know, like he would get bad grades, and his mom wouldn't care so much.
Mm-hmm.
But if he was mean to someone, she would lose her mind.
Yeah, yeah.
And if he did something great or if he did something nice and compassionate, she would just shower him with praise.
Yeah, yeah.
My mom was the same way. She didn't really care about grades and stuff like that as much as she cared about like me doing the right thing and being. So I mean, it is good. Like a lot of the things our parents did for us are good,
Oh, totally.
but maybe a little bit of reality in there would have been nice.
Absolutely. I mean, it all comes down to just stirring the soup, dude. You gotta, reality rushes in, and your parents can't protect you or prepare you for
No,
100% of life.
that's right.
But the older I get, the more I realize, for me at least, getting older isn't about growing more or experiencing more. It's about stripping away some of those experiences that built up this negative connotation about myself. So many people get to like 30, 35, and they're like, oh, I've only learned as much as a 30, 35-year-old. I need to get more experienced. I need to get more intelligent. And for me, it's not about adding to, it's about taking away from.
That's a very interesting.
Something
that's
happens in your
true.
teens that's,
Yeah.
because dude, think about, I mean, we've all been through elementary school, middle school, high school. Those are fucking tiny prisons for kids where
Oh my god,
we're all just assaulting each other verbally
yeah,
and
it's the worst.
making each other feel so small and insignificant. You need to spend your 30s chipping away at a lot of those insecurities that are built up at an early age. And then taking away that shit shows those layers of who you truly are.
I love that, man.
Too
I
many
never
people
thought
want
of
to,
that.
they want to like glue shit onto the side of
right.
who they
it's
are.
Like, take it away.
Yeah,
peel
just
the
remove
onion.
it, pull it back.
Right. I think that's so true, man. because I always think about. I always joke with my wife, like me and you both have ADD and we're all over the place.
Yeah.
But I always talk about the Super James, the
Yeah.
version of me that I know is in there.
Mm-hmm.
That I would be the most fucking productive person in the world. I could the Jessica in the mirror thing.
Yeah.
Like I know that's in me somewhere, and if I peel away that insecure 15-year-old version of me, if I peel away that scared kid that's just shielding the real me, then eventually you can get there. I think that's spot on, man.
It's a big deal. That's 100% how I feel too. I know what I'm capable of. There's situations that I absolutely thrive in, and then there's situations where I am super uncomfortable, and then I have to unpack that in therapy terms.
I know.
You unpack something and you kind of figure out, all right, where is this coming from? What this feeling is an emotional memory, or it's something real. It's something from my childhood or whatever.
So much is from our childhood.
And so much of the bullshit that we feel about ourselves, it's negative self-talk every time.
Yeah.
We're not on our own team.
Right.
And I've noticed that my big thing, I have so many close friends that they'll tell me like, you're so great at like coaching and like helping people. And while I love that, it's an incredible compliment. I will think about how I don't have that control over my own life, and that is
I do the same thing.
That's so common too. That's not even an anomaly at all. We're all so good at giving advice from the outside in, but it's so much more difficult to take our own advice and just. I've been working a lot lately at just like that positive self-talk of like
it's everything, man. And I think for me, like, Fight Club is one of my favorite movies of all time.
it's a classic.
Yeah, and a lot of my close friends we always refer to as like the Fight Club generation, because that movie is really about hitting rock bottom.
Yeah, and
The
the
whole-
relationship with yourself.
Yeah, the whole point of it is supposed to strip away all that shit, like you're talking about. Getting in the whole point of like, what do you know about yourself unless you've been in a fight? Like the pain and that difficult part of life is what you should actually go and try to seek out. So you go learn something about yourself, and to not like all like there's a line in the movie, self-improvement is masturbation.
Right.
Like
yeah.
but it's not true. And I love the
No.
movie, but it is just a movie.
I love that sentiment. I
I love
understand.
it
Like from a
too.
comedic standpoint, I get it.
Right.
But no, it's not
But
at
it's
all.
not it's
Because it's so much more painful than masturbation.
yes.
Masturbation is the shit from beginning to end.
Yeah.
Self-improvement fucking blows for the first
It's
half
tough.
and then is dope at the very end.
That's right. Yep. And doing things that are good for yourself is not bad. It doesn't
Right.
it's not vain, eating well, working out, going to therapy, reading books, all these things
Dude.
that will help you. That's a good thing.
It's taken me 32
It's taken me
years.
so long to realize
It's
that,
taken me 32 years to get to a point where like self-care aren't bad words.
I know.
And you even
It used
see
to be
like
so icky to me.
you even see fucking like mainstream iconic even oh my god, once again, name that I can't goddamn remember.
Well, you're doing a podcast. That's why.
He just died. He dated Ariana Grande. Malcolm is his real name. Why can't I remember everything about him except his name? I probably know his fucking birthday and his social
Is he a
security number.
rapper,
Yes.
actor?
And he just died.
Oh,
This is driving me fucking crazy. Just put in Malcolm Ariana Grande. I'm gonna fucking kill myself.
I hate this.
This is so stupid. Oh, and then Google's gonna be
Oh, cool.
no
Mac
help.
Miller.
Mac Miller.
Mother fucking
Holy shit.
Shit dog.
Anyway, he's got a song called Self Care, and that's
Mm,
that. It's such a huge thing
right.
that I think
Sorry.
it's considered somewhat effeminate, and it's considered it's a girly thing. Like men don't self care. What is that?
Right.
Get in your pickup truck, throw your 2x4s
Fucking deal
in
with
the
it,
back,
bro.
go build a fucking house.
Yep.
It's not.
Bury that shit.
Yeah, it's not real. Guess who did that? The motherfuckers that died at 45
Yes.
years old from a heart attack.
Yes.
You got to take care of yourself and fucking be there. And there's
I know.
nothing effeminate about it. If anything,
No.
it's the strongest shit ever to look at those people
Absolutely.
that call it effeminate and be like, bro, I'm trying to live to like 95
used to
and be
always-
stoked the whole way through.
I used to always say that about music genres that weren't hard, like heavy music. A lot of It's one thing I don't like about the rock scene, and especially with dudes, is that it's very machismo. It
Yeah.
can be
Oh,
very
for sure.
aggro and
Yeah.
don't be a fucking pussy, bro, especially in the metal scene.
Yeah.
And a lot of
Studded belt and biceps
Yeah.
and all. It's
And
weird.
not that my friends were always like that, but we definitely had that in us. Like, tough is better than vulnerable. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Right.
But I remember thinking, it started to occur to me over time that like Radiohead and Sigur Rós and Explosions in the Sky, or like Jimmy Eat World, more emotive type of bands,
Yeah.
aren't that's still heavy music. It's
Yeah.
heavy. It's emotionally heavy,
Mm-hmm.
and it's still like there's nothing not tough about that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a different rant, but
I completely agree. Yeah, and also like what the fuck is heavy? I've heard Nickelback songs that are heavy.
yeah. What does that
Like,
even mean?
Yeah, it's
That's
just
subjective.
it's a lot of it is it's just people not wanting to be real about certain shit. And it's also easier to feel like you're assimilating by just following the crowd.
Yep.
Sometimes the crowd is like, dude, men are all Clint Eastwood all the fucking time, and that's not real.
Nope.
That's not real at all.
It's not real at all. I
And
don't
I've been
know anyone like
happier
that.
since I've just been real with myself and been like, hey, yo, this thing caused emotional pain to me, or
Yeah.
this is a thing that I'm disappointed in myself over. I'm going to try to improve. If people have an issue with that, then
Yeah.
it is what it is, I guess.
I'm very open about it. I see a therapist. I have for a couple of years.
Yeah,
That's
same.
the best thing I ever did for
I
myself.
think it's been 6 years for me.
Yeah.
I tell people
It's
all the time,
amazing.
if you're willing to go to 24-hour fitness and fucking and lift
It's
some heavy
crazy.
shit over and over, go do the same thing but for your head.
Yep.
That 9 times out of 10, the people I know, I would rather they go to therapy
No shit.
than lift weights. Oh, dude, you're a ripped psychopath. Good job.
Yep.
Like that's no, thank you.
No,
Like,
thank you.
I'm gonna go to therapy. I'm gonna feel good about shit. I'm gonna unpack.
I never regret going.
No, why would you? Yeah,
Ever.
there's no way. Like I understand there's a stigma with saying that you go for sure, but
Yep.
even that, after enough time, you get over that.
I mean, I used to not talk about it, and
Yeah.
now I'm saying it on air on a podcast. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Because I want that stigma to go away. I want people to know that it's not just normal. It's fucking rad.
Yeah, it's ideal.
It's ideal.
Absolutely
It's-
ideal.
Yeah. And going to your doctor and getting meds prescribed to you is not the same as going to a therapist.
No,
And
yeah.
people really get that confused.
That's another huge thing too. Like, oh, dude, things are hard. Can I get
Go-
some Xanax?
like, huh?
Yeah, cool. Take this. Go to sleep.
Those
Your
things
problems
are
are going to be there when
They're
you
there
wake
for
up.
a reason.
Yeah.
I'm not knocking medication if that's the right fit for you, but
Yeah.
do the work first. Because most of the time you don't need that shit.
Dude, I got a couple Xanax from a friend, and like I'm so goddamn excited. I feel like I got a
Oh,
Christmas tree,
They're so nice.
and there's just a couple
Ah.
gifts waiting for me under the tree.
I
Like
know.
I haven't taken them yet. I'm just like, no, dude, I'll take these when I'm real stressed out.
I've taken them a few times, like getting on planes and stuff. and
Yeah,
it's just
yeah.
like, oh, I don't care if I die now.
I've
This is
heard,
great.
and that's all I've heard, and I'm just thrilled with that review.
Are you a plane guy? Do you like flying?
I mean, I don't like flying in that I don't have Wi-Fi. It's not
It's uncomfortable.
yeah, it's uncomfortable
But you don't have
technologically.
a fear of flying.
No, I used to.
I kind of do.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
not
it's
like
very common.
very bad, but it used to be like when I was young, I loved it. I was like this Top Gun kid. I loved like jets and like all little kids do. And then over time, just got more neurotic and fucking anxious, and I hated it.
Yeah, I
Which was
used
cool
to.
because I traveled a lot. So that was
Yeah,
really
like
fun
I
for
said,
me.
I used to, and I'm fascinated by the dichotomy too, because it's so funny. It's all just an egotistical control thing. Because if you think about it,
I know.
driving your car, right? What
So
are
much
you?
more
You're
dangerous.
completely in control. What else are you?
That's all it is.
Super fucking in danger.
All it is.
But your hands are on the steering wheel, so you're like, this is what's up.
And also, how often do you not drive your car? Almost never, right? I
Right.
would imagine.
How many times do
neither.
you get in a head-on collision with another plane when you're in a plane?
Never.
It fucking doesn't happen. How many times do you see another plane?
I know.
It doesn't happen. And yet we're up in the air and we're just like, oh, cool, gonna die any second.
I know.
And that's not the case.
I remember hearing a pilot, because one of the things that freaks me out is turbulence. That's when I start getting
Same.
a little
Yeah.
squirrely.
For sure.
And
Because turbulence feels like, oh, shit, that was the pilot just taking a shot.
I know.
And now it's fucking over.
But there's a video of a pilot explaining turbulence on YouTube, and I highly recommend watching it, because he basically describes it as he gets mad. He's like, why would you expect there to not be turbulence?
Right. Well, because
It's-
we're not meteorologists.
Well,
Like,
I know, but I mean, he's just like, it's the equivalent to when you drive and you hit like a bump in the road.
right.
That doesn't freak you out. You're
Yeah.
not in danger,
Once again, though, what are you? You're in control.
but you're in control. He's the one flying, and he's
Yeah.
the pilot, and he knows.
And
yeah.
we're also, you know, it's fucking. Flight hasn't been around for 5,000 years.
It is weird.
It's been, what, less than 100, right?
It's the whole Louis C.K. thing, like how no one cares, and it's this miracle.
I know. I fucking
You're
love that
sitting in
bit.
a seat like 35,000
Yeah.
feet.
You're
in, the
in a
air.
tube, just.
The
fu-
internet won't work.
Yeah, and you're traveling in a way that would have killed everybody
Oh,
you knew
yeah,
100 years
It's
ago.
taking you 2 years to get to
Yeah,
New York
you
City.
got dysentery, you lost 2 kids.
Half the people die.
Yeah,
We would eat each other.
it's so true. I remember reading that Louis
Ugh.
C.K. his bit about how somebody complains about the Wi-Fi being down. That bit in the bit he says it was somebody else, but
Yes,
it came from the fact that was his thought.
I love that.
He felt that way about it, and I was like, "That's brilliant." I
Dude,
mean, that's how you got to do it.
I miss
Why
him
make
so much.
yourself the fucking? He'll be back.
Oh,
He's
God.
gonna be back. If you think about it, like if you compare him to Bill Cosby, and this is a real sensitive subject, but if you compare him to Bill Cosby,
Oh,
come
it's-
on, we're never gonna see
What are we even talking about here?
goopy eye ass Bill Cosby. He's done. Like
he's
that's
a
never happening.
Fucking rapist piece of shit.
He's gonna die with his one eye melting out of his brain. Louis C.K. Like, listen, what he did is not dope
of course,
by any
of course,
means,
Of course.
but
It's an abuse of power and all that. We get it.
We're gonna
It's
see him
fucked
again.
up.
I mean, he's already
but-
he's been in might have been the Laugh Factory or some fucking place in
and
LA.
you know, like, I don't know. What do people want? What do they want? They want
Yeah,
him
that's
to
the
die,
big point.
just to
Yeah,
crawl in a hole
that is
and
the big
die?
point. Does he have to
What's-
cut off his dick and then
Yeah,
he can
what
continue
is-
stand up?
What is it? And that wouldn't even be enough for some people.
No, for sure it wouldn't. They
I don't
just
know.
yeah. There's no rhyme or reason. You know, I think a lot of people want him to hurt as much as they hurt about what he did, and
Right.
that's also subjective. How do you measure that shit?
Well, look, not to take his side because the women matter more than him. But let's just, for the sake of talking, think about what has been affected in his life. Now, he hasn't done the thing he loves for how long now? A year or whatever it's been?
I think it's
Almost
been a year. Yeah, maybe over.
Not that he needs money, but he has lost a ton of
And it's-
opportunity for money.
I think the figure I heard was 30 million.
Sounds right.
Yeah.
I mean, not just to the touring, but all the production he had going on for movies,
Yeah.
that show he was on. I mean, geez, he was the top of comedians. You couldn't get bigger than Louis C.K. at that
I do.
time.
The thing that I'm most intrigued about.
And not to know, but think
No, you're
about his
fine.
daughters. Think about he's
Yeah,
got kids,
that's
man.
easily the biggest thing.
Family, looking people in the face at Thanksgiving, like it's a bummer, dude.
Luckily, his daughters are at an age where
Ugh.
he can contain it a little more.
A bit, yeah, you're right.
But I do wonder, is this going to be a Floyd Mayweather thing where he was at the top, he kind of went away for a bit, and because he was at the top and only went away for maybe a couple years, that's always been my assessment. Is
Right.
2 years that he's going to go. That's why I think about a year in is when you started to hear about him performing a little more.
Yeah.
It kind of created an uproar a little bit. He didn't talk about the situation, which some people really wanted him to. I think 2 years is when you're either going to full on get a special from him, or you're going to hear heavy, heavy talks of him recording one, which then in Netflix standards would be like
Yeah.
3 to 4 to 6 months away from like full production, like released and out. I really believe that's going to happen. I think that more people want him back than don't want him back.
I mean, I don't know anyone that doesn't have the same sentiment about this than we do.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't talked to anyone we know that's been like, I disagree. He doesn't deserve to ever come back. I don't want to see him. He's fucked up too bad to ever, like, I haven't heard it.
No, I mean, I saved those judgments for Harvey Weinstein
Of course, fuck him.
and for Bill Cosby.
Fuck him.
Hang him from the
See
fucking
ya.
from the highest
Don't get to have
branch.
dick anymore.
Yeah, I don't give a shit. That
Yeah, you're
the
done.
amount, the victim toll is too high.
It's too high. It's too bad.
I back that.
Absolutely.
But I mean, Louis C.K. he was a perv.
He's creepy.
Here's the thing, I'm a perv.
Everyone,
like,
I know.
He
and
just
that's-
got caught. Like,
Yeah.
now, did I do the same things that Louis C.K. did?
No.
Fuck no. But when I hear like, you know, oh,
People love to judge, though.
he used to call me and he would be jerking off. Don't know how you know that, but he would be jerking off, and then like Dave Chappelle says, you can't hang up a phone.
You can't hang up the
And I
phone.
get that. There's still a level of victimization because you didn't answer the phone knowing that a man would be jerking off on the other end.
And it's Louis C.K. and you might be like a up and coming comedian.
Right.
you know,
Yeah. And he's a redhead,
he's
and
using
that's
his
super
power,
gross.
and that's super duper gross.
But I don't know, dude.
I know.
Dude's funny as shit. But
He's
I'm
so
also
fucking
I'm not a female. Would my shit be different if the girl he did that to on the phone was my mom? I mean, it'd be fucking
Yeah.
funnier if it was my mom, I think. But if it was like my little sister, or I don't know, whatever. I can only judge the situation as it happened. Maybe it would be different. I'm a human being. I'm dynamic. I'm hypocritical.
That's just it.
It
People
just-
love to fucking judge.
Yeah.
They love.
It does
taking
feel
down
good. He's got way more
celebrities.
money than me, so
So fuck him.
Sometimes I'm just like, man, you piece of shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, look at that. All that money don't make you better than me, man.
Yeah, you're human too, guy.
That's a human fetish right there. People
All
love
right.
doing that.
Let's wrap this thing up with a little movie pick of the week. Now, admittedly, this is a schmaltzy, cheesy, whatever kind of movie.
I do love that I haven't seen this
But I loved
trailer,
it. Oh, okay, good.
but I'm interested in this movie.
So it's called Instant Family with Mark Wahlberg and what is her name? Something.
Oh, and also I think our
Byrne?
last episode
Rose
got
Byrne.
pulled because we played some trailers, and we're over here
Yes.
like a couple fucking gangsters. Like, yeah. So anyway, gonna
Yeah, so
keep
anyway.
playing trailers.
Yeah, we're gonna play trailers this time. If we get pulled on YouTube by doing this again, then sorry, no more trailers for the audience.
Right.
We might still watch them and you won't hear them.
We're gonna let YouTube fuck us twice before we're like, all right, we'll change.
Yeah, we're not sure what did it. It was either the music that was in the show or it was from the YouTube videos. We're thinking it's from the videos.
Yeah.
Sounds like it.
We're
probably is.
bummed because we probably lost like,
Sucks.
I mean, at least 16 views, which hurts a lot. But
Yep. Couple pennies.
yeah, we're gonna try to rebuild.
So this it's based on a true story, which I didn't know until the end of the movie because they make that clear. A couple in their like mid 30s, my age, maybe a little bit older, decide to go adopt. To be foster parents. That's what it is.
That's right, because that's what the director did in real life.
Yeah. Oh, is it the director?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
how cool.
That's the dude that was on the Rogan podcast with Segura.
Oh, okay, cool. I'll go back and listen to it.
He did some other big ass movies
Oh, he
too.
did like
I can't remember what they were.
The Other Guys. Really funny.
Oh,
fucking-
okay.
Like surprisingly funny.
But then some
comedy.
classic ass shit too. I feel like there was at least one movie where I was like, "There's no way you did that
Sean
movie."
Anders, I think is his
Yeah,
name.
yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. This isn't the classic movie, so don't judge me. But fucking Sex Trip or Road Sex or
Yeah, he's done like big studio movies,
Sexy
right?
Road Trip, Daddy's Home 2,
See what he's directed. Director, 7 credits.
sex movie or something.
Daddy's Home 2, Horrible Bosses.
Sex Drive.
Which one's that?
It's a fucking. I think Tom Green might be in it for a second.
It's like a lot of comedies.
Yeah, yeah, a couple kitschy comedies, and then
Yeah. Typically not my kind of movie pick of the week vibe, but I really liked it, and I think it was very sweet, and
yeah,
it's very encouraging to foster kids, and it really points out too, like there's so many kids out there that have such a bummer life, dude. We
Yeah.
always think about like adopting, like you adopted your dog.
yeah,
Dogs and cats that need our help. Kids are no fucking different, man. People who have like crackhead parents and think of the life we had as kids. Our loving parents and
stroking our
normal
hands, calling
Yeah,
us rocket scientists,
making us fucking psychopaths.
and these kids just got like dog bowls
Nothing.
of water,
Dog bowls
being
of water
fucking frisbeed
and
at
one
them.
saltine for Christmas.
Yeah,
And like
ugh.
it's a bummer, dude. It's a bummer.
I like that truck though.
It's a dope truck,
In
isn't
the
it?
driveway. That's
All right,
great.
let's watch
I
this.
love what you two are doing with this house, but what are you going to do with 5 bedrooms? You guys are obviously never having kids.
Tom Segura.
What was that look? I did not do a look.
You're doing a look right now.
There's no look.
Have a good fight, guys.
There's so many kids in foster care, and they're having an orientation.
Ellie, people who take in foster kids are really special. The kind of people who volunteer when it's not even a holiday. We don't even volunteer on a holiday.
Over 500,000 children are currently in foster care.
Take
It's
Notaro.
really
Nice.
on because they can match a
There's a
lot
few
of kids and
stand-ups in
parents
this.
quickly.
Look at the big kids.
Everybody's avoiding them. I'm going to go and say hi.
But they're teenagers, okay? They use drugs and they watch people playing video games on YouTube. We're not equipped for any of that.
Hi! Just FYI, we can all hear you. It's okay. Go mingle with the kitties and don't give it another thought. Bye-bye.
She was cool.
Lizzie comes with 2 younger siblings.
3 kids? Too much. Oh my God.
They're adorable.
Why would you show us that? That's wrong.
Here we are.
Make yourself at home because you're at home.
Do you like the Clippers?
Oh, I'm more of a Lakers fan.
Oh no! You hit me because I like the Clippers.
I think the Clippers are awesome. They were smart for trading Blake Griffin, their best player.
That little kid's really funny. He's like this overly sensitive kid.
Oh, that's sick.
Cries at the drop of a hat.
Charity orphans to make you feel good about yourself. Pretend, Mom.
We might have a little bit of a knack for this.
I beg to differ.
This stuff takes time. Lizzie to parent Juan and Lita all by herself.
This is never going to be easy.
But with some structure and love, you could make your house a home.
Lizzie!
We love you. Please just go away.
When I'm pissed, you know what I like to do?
Really?
That looks like so much fun.
All right, let me fix her, okay?
Thanks, Daddy.
I just got my first daddy. Oh, what the?
Suck. I want some of that. Hey, honey, can I help you with anything? No.
No.
What are you doing to my phone?
Look at what this boy texted her.
Is this that kid, Jacob? Hey,
I saw the picture you sent her, Jacob.
You're lucky I'll end your life right now, Carrot Top.
I'm gonna call your mom.
You're going down today.
So what do you think of that, Jacob?
My name's not Jacob.
What? Okay.
There you go, people. Your
That's solid.
heartwarming. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd
delicious
watch that.
family
I'd watch
movie.
that tonight. I might try to
It's
fucking
great, dude.
pirate the fuck out of that.
You won't feel bad.
That's sick.
Your heart will be.
I
what is,
know.
the
Right
Grinch?
now, I
The
feel like a
heart.
piece of shit. Like I haven't done enough.
Oh, I've done nothing
That
to
just
help anyone.
inspired me to adopt, but I have no business
Ever feel
doing
like
that.
you're just a selfish piece of shit?
Yeah.
It's just all about me.
I don't spend enough time with my fucking dog.
I know.
Imagine if I had a kid just in the basement right now. That's where my pit bull is.
You forgot to mention that. Like,
Yeah.
oh yeah. Did I have a kid?
Yeah, I keep him down there for
He's
like
2.
11 hours a day. That might not be good.
Yeah. I should probably go home and feed him. And he gets a little
Jesus.
cranky.
That's why I had to be here at 4:30 because I went and
Yeah.
I fed her and stuff. But the
Well.
foster kid, I just said fuck you.
I think we did it, Alan.
Yeah, dude.
We did another one. It happened. We did it.
This one was long as fuck.
Yeah, it might shave.
Or it just felt that way. I don't know.
Well, it's over 2 hours.
Oh, Jesus Christ. It's irresponsible.
It's okay. It was a good one. Finn is the man, and thank you again to Finn Mckenty. God, I keep wanting to say McKentry.
Yeah. No,
McKenty.
phonetically, that just feels more comfortable, but
Oh, I forgot to tell him or ask him about his Irishness, because that is a clearly Irish name.
I mean, I knew out of the open 10 minutes, I was like, we could have this guy on multiple times.
Boy.
And I
Oh,
hope we have
yeah.
him in studio. We'll clean this bitch up, and then
Yeah.
we'll bring him in because he's, yeah, we all, like the three of us have too much in common.
Yeah,
It's dangerous.
simply too much. Yeah, we're a couple chatty Cathys too, so we'll have a good time with him again for sure. So you can find Finn at Finn Mckenty, FINNMCKENTY, and then also the Punk Rock MBA on YouTube. Really dope channel. Highly recommend it. Right?
100%. Yeah, it's great. I'm gonna probably
Sweet.
go home tonight and watch more. I
me
didn't
too.
research as much as I wanted to.
Yeah, dude. There's a ton of stuff on there. It's a good rabbit hole to go down. Where can they find you, Alan?
At It Came From the Sky.
Fantastic.
And if you can't spell that, then I don't want you checking me out.
It's your goddamn fault if you can't spell that.
Yeah, you're in the second grade.
In the second grade.
Your mom didn't stroke your hands enough and say, you're a good speller.
You can find me at James Ian Macmillan or at Stateside MGMT. And thanks again to Finn for being on the show once again. And we will see you guys next week.
Later.
Bye.